All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, friends and family all over the world. We want to give a special shout out to all the viewers up in Ohio right now. We're just so happy, we're so delighted to come to you with another episode of Real Talk with Ian and Ian. And we're just gonna, man, we got so much to cover tonight. We're gonna talk about if anybody have a testimony in track and field, it's gonna be this man that we have right in studio. He is a living testimony. I'm telling you. I mean, when I look back on his journey, and if you want to talk about having three of the best year in track and field in your career, I mean, it's a lot more than that, but I'm talking about 3 years, '07, '08, and '09. Every athlete's dream is to win three medals back to back. So we're going to get right into it. But before we get into it, just let's welcome Mr. Ian Thomas, the health and wellness specialist.
Yes, guys, we just want to say, as Ian said, welcome another evening to Real Talk. And as you know, we'll always be bringing you someone who is able to inspire, motivate, uplift, and at the same time educate, based on their life, their journey. We come on here to just hope that we inspire someone. And this afternoon, we know we will not fail to inspire you guys with the story of David Payne, who is willing to take the time out and share with Ian and Ian this afternoon. So we just want to say welcome to David Payne. Welcome to the platform, man.
What's up, everybody? Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here and talk about my story with everyone.
All right, guys. So, guys, a lot of you guys have known this man. We're going to talk. We're calling him David right now, but at some point, we're going to change the name. We're going to change the name from his real name that he's gonna this name that we're gonna let you know he's gonna pretty much this is his name that he's gonna go on. He's gonna tell you his story, why that name, he have decided to say, you know what, this name gonna represent me. And this name is what I'm gonna go on for. So, so that's gonna be everybody in the track and field world. You're gonna hear about, we talk about in cricket, we talk about making a clutch shot, a clutch run. You're gonna hear the whole story. So, David, I'm gonna come right back to you, and I just want you just to give me a 90-second version of who is David Payne before I just get into the detail. Just tell me, who is David Payne from your perspective.
I'd have to say somebody who never quits. And that came from my childhood, just having a lot of issues with like not being the best in the beginning. And that was until I actually found track and field. And then once I found track and field, it was kind of easier for me. But I always had that mentality to just never quit. And I try to like voice my story to people who are not early bloomers, just because I feel like everyone can relate to a winner, but everyone doesn't always win. And so a good story to hear is the people who, are second and third, or third and fourth or fifth. If you're an Olympian, you've won. And that is a lifetime of dreaming and preparing. And a lot of people don't realize that. Some people say, oh, I want to be an Olympian. Like, that's a lifetime dream. But I always maintain that endurance of never giving up.
All right, perfect, perfect. Thank you for that introduction. So, guys, as usual, what we're going to do, we just want to bring it. We're going to go way back, David. So just bear with us a little bit, to the best of your ability. But the one first question that we want to talk about the running days. How did that all start? We probably know that you probably was so active that you probably play basketball, probably football, and all that. So, just bring us back to your high school days and just let us know, when did you first thought about running, and how did that started?
Well, I went to Wyoming High School. It's a small school. When I was there, it probably had about 500 people in the school. I was in a graduating class of like 120. So it was a small school, but the education was grade A. I mean, at that time, I think we were ranked in education second in the nation. So I was very appreciative, not as much as I am now, but appreciative to have gone to that school for that reason. But um, starting out, I didn't really run track. I think I tried in like the 7th or 8th grade. And I didn't run the hurdles. I just was, wanted the introduction to what track and field was. It wasn't until I got to to high school, my junior and senior year, that I actually wanted to run track and be more competitive. And I think it was because there's a family in the neighborhood by the name of the Fultons, and it was a lot of them, and they were all so athletic, and all of them were good at what they did. And one of them, Titus Fulton, would always try to recruit me to run track, and I never really was interested. And then my junior year, I came out for the track team, and that same year, I actually went to state and got a medal at state, and that was all really just from just talent. And I really wasn't paying attention to what I actually could do until that very next year. Which is a whole nother story in itself.
Okay. So that move on to your senior year. So we
Yeah.
talk about, you just decided, man, we all start the sport in different ways. Sometimes it's a family member that's a bigger brother, or all different things. So for you, you just get out there and try it out. So obviously, what was the first event that you do when you started out in track?
The first event that I did was, I think I tried to do like long jump or something like that. I wasn't bad at it. I mean, I didn't do nothing crazy, but it was clearly not the event that I was supposed to do. I think I also did like the 400. That was probably the other event that I was really good at. I went to state in the 400 and got sixth in state. I was Division two. I was Division two. So I didn't run no crazy time. I think I ran like 50 or 49. But I had quarter speed, which would back me up later on when I would run the 400 hurdles later on. But that was probably, I was a good quarter miler, and definitely could jump. So I tried to do high jump and long jump, but eventually those didn't pan out.
All right. So I'm gonna get one more question, then that's gonna be it for me for now. So high school, man, just want to summarize your high school career. Just highlight and tell me what was your biggest accomplishment in high school.
I think it was my junior year, honestly. I was able to go to state and place. I didn't win, but I was able to get uh, third in the third in the 110 hurdles for boys, and 400 I placed sixth, and for my division. And I think that right there, that's coming off of, again, not ever having any background. My mother actually was also a track star, but not me having done too much of it until that period. I really didn't pay attention to what I was capable of. So at that point, I realized, like, maybe I could turn this into something.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you for that. So guys, just stay tuned because we're going to talk about. You're going to be able to actually see David mom. We got a little clip that we want to show later on in the show. How inspirational she is to him. Over to you, Ian.
Okay, David. As I come on here, I just want to give shout out to all of the parents, who have made the sacrifice so that we could have, become the person we are today. Greatness lies in all of us, but it all depends on who we have, the force that we have behind us. A lot of our given talent, but not every one of us talent come to materialization. So I hear you mention early, David, about your mother being involved in track and field. Could you just give us a background in terms of track and field and your mother? So the genetic, where it came from, and a little about mommy.
So before I even ran track, she used to tell me all the time that she was a track star. And of course, I didn't believe her. It's like when they tell you they walk through 10 feet of snow to get to class. But when I got to the school that I was going to, she actually went to that same high school. And I even had some teachers who had my mother there that was still at the school.
Wow.
And they also told me that she was a track star and she ran track as well. And basically, she had me, and I just came through with what she couldn't finish, basically.
Great, great. All right. And for me, I try to pull out some of the toughness in terms of the athletes and what made them into the athletes that they are, the person that they have become over the years. With you, David, I just want to ask you, we see where you're able to accomplish a lot, but could you tell our viewers some of the sacrifice you had to make to become such a great athlete?
There was a lot of sacrifice actually. Traveling constantly. Everybody thinks is glitz and glam. Like first of all, I'm deathly afraid of flying, and all my friends know that. So when they try to get me to go on trips, especially now that I'm not traveling like I used to, I'm like, do y'all really want to go to Cuba or Dominican Republic or Mexico? I'm like, I've been those places. Not to say that I can't go back, but it's sometimes it's to me it's like I would rather not fly because I'm just so afraid, especially with everything that's going on now. But at the same time, it's like you got to go where business calls, and you got to go where this is what I've been working my whole life for and putting in all that time at the track. So it has to be done.
All right. And quick question here. Could you just tell us what track and field meant to you as an athlete, and what have it done for you in terms of your toughness? Because I listen to you as you speak. You are well motivated, and we're happy to have you on here because we know you're definitely gonna inspire our audience tonight. So could you just tell us a little there?
Track means a lot. I remember back in the day, I didn't used to really like track. Like I said, I was really good at it, but I didn't really like to do it. I'm pretty sure a lot of track athletes feel that way. I don't think until you actually get a little bit more mature in track and field do you actually grow to love dying. I have this thing where I used to tell my athletes at Xavier University, you have to die to live. And I've gotten that from my coaches. And basically what that means is you have to lay it out on the track when no one's watching in order to be reborn when it's time to actually compete in front of the spotlight, basically. And that right there was just so inspiring to me that it just changed my whole focus, made every negative thing that happened to me positive. And basically it's a whole metaphor for how I live my life, even the hurdles. Like every day you got hurdles in your face, and life is seasons. It's not going to be easy. So you got to take those hurdles and you got to clear every barrier. Even if you knock a hurdle down, you got to get up and keep going. So track basically made me tough. It made me mentally and physically tough to get over those barriers that come at you in all aspects of life, basically.
Thank you. All right. So before I turn you back over to Ian, I know as another Olympian hurdler, um, how does it feel like you enter a race, to be like beside somebody that in the sport, what they're capable of, and you got to go in there as focus. How do you prepare yourself mentally for something like that?
Man, I say this all the time, but I feel like it's a mentality. You gotta have this mentality, and I feel like it's a Cincinnati mentality for real. Because like a lot of the athletes that come from here, I mean, when it's time to get the job done, we just get the job done. And for me, it's just like being confident in yourself, knowing that what you're doing, you're focusing on being the best in the world, and what you're doing nobody else is doing, and you're probably doing more, or you have better techniques of doing things, or the fact is you're working harder or trying to work harder, because you're really working against a time. The people that are running it are just people who are achieving higher times, but at the end of the day you're running against a time. So you just got to try to consistently be on top of things, and just consistently go as good as you can.
All right, back to you there, Ian. Thank you very much, David.
All right, awesome, awesome. So, man, we're just going to continue this journey. Obviously, David got into track in high school, but we want to talk about how you got to University of Cincinnati, the Bearcats. We know that it's you're a local hometown guy, but just tell us about I know for many others they're coming out of high school, some people are heavily recruited, they're going all these visits all over the country. Just tell us the how did it started, how did you end up at University of Cincinnati um, on track team?
Well, it wasn't my first choice, even though it turned out to be the best choice. I actually got in trouble my senior year of high school. I had a couple of friends who their family let them have a party, and they had beer there, and we all ended up getting caught. And at that time, track and field was the only sport that was in. So, and that was also the same week as our state championship, which I was the fastest leg on our 4x4. And when we got caught and I couldn't go, all the other three people could not go. So that was a heavy burden that I had, and it just festered. And at that point, track was over. I mean, I graduated. I wasn't really into track because I lost a couple of scholarships. I mean, it was all over the place. I was actually expected to come in like the top 3 at state that year, and it was just disappointing to hear. So my aunt, who I also love to death, um, we had a long talk, and she was like, "No, you know what? You're gonna go to school." She's like, we're gonna help you get into your first year at the University of Cincinnati, and you're gonna go to school. Because I was like, just like, I don't care what happens no more. Because I felt like it was so detrimental. I mean, I was in high school. Anything that happens to you, you feel like that's that's your whole life. So at that point in time, I was not even really worried about my college experience. But when I did decide to go to college, I had been recruited by Bill Schneer. I don't think I was one of his top recruits. I think he knew about me. But when that happened, I also think I fell by the wayside. But I was determined after I knew mom was willing to help me at school. Um, I was basically determined to go up there and just basically, you know, get on that team, even if I had to walk on, which is basically what happened because I didn't run track my first year and I ended up walking on the team at the University of Cincinnati.
Oh, wow. So, man, I hear about these stories, all the time. I'm mostly in football. Guys walk on the team and end up getting a scholarship. So, just to echo what you're saying, man, you have decided that I'm on, your parents and your aunt of saying, look, you're going to go to college. So, obviously, I've got good grades and everything. So, you was able to enroll in the University of Cincinnati. So at what point now? So when you look at the whole thing and you'll be like, man, um, I still want to run track. I'm going to go out for the team. What was that experience like when you went out and talked to coach about you joining the team, and what was the challenge that you were facing right then?
The child, I mean, just like normal challenges, going into the office and talking to him every day and seeing the teammates who they don't know who you are and they're like, who is this person? And, you know, if you ran track before, if you were on a track team, anybody who comes into the track already going to the school and say they want to get on the track team is like, not saying that they're not good, but it's like, you have, I would say, less. You're not going to expect them to just make the team because most people who make the team are getting recruited. So I got really no attention, and a lot of people were wondering why I was there. And I was talking big stuff. I mean, I was saying I was going to be Conference USA champion. I wasn't just saying I was going to make the team or whatever. And there was this one person. His name was Brandon Hahn, and at first we pretty much, I wouldn't say we were enemies, but we definitely didn't like each other. I mean, this was before I was even on the team. I mean, I think I seen him in the office one day, and they told me who he was, and he was at that time the best hurdler for the University of Cincinnati. And at that time, I was going for his head, so I made that my priority. And that next year, I got the opportunity at inter
Yeah.
squad. We had an inter squad meet, and I beat him at the inter squad meet. I even think we ran the same time. We ran like 7:92 or something like that. But I just edged him out to get the win or whatever, and that was all the confidence I needed right there. And slowly over time, like even through my freshman year, like
Yeah.
going through the battles that freshmen go through, trying to prove themselves, trying to get used to like, oh my gosh, we're doing weights. Like, what are
Yeah.
weights and nutrition and how many times you're actually working out in a day, in a week. So like, yeah, but I definitely would say coming into that office and trying to make my presence known and that I was there to stay.
All right, awesome, awesome. So I'm going to share something that a lot of people might not know that about you. That you actually, man, I never know you why you were so versatile, but now I know you actually run the 400 hurdles. In college.
I mean,
You know,
I wasn't you,
no,
but
I mean,
I
but
did a
but
little something.
but the fact that I mean, obviously, you just start to focus on the short hurdles, but I believe that if you have focused on the long hurdle, we don't know either that you probably because you probably would have achieved a lot of success also, but in the long run, that long hurdles turn out to be one of the best thing that you have ever done because you develop certain strength and courage, and determination from running the 400 hurdle. That that's why your last three hurdles. I mean, you're probably your last four or five. I mean, you're never the fastest starter, but you was a strength hurdler. You was strong, and that's why you was able to. So, but the question that I want to ask you: how and when and why did you start doing the hurdles? How did that come along? What made you say, man, I want to try and do the hurdles? And when was that?
We was at practice and we was running like hundreds, and I was like, well, I was talking to the coach, and I was like, Coach Searcy, I was like, what is harder than doing sprints? And he was like, well, you can try a field event. He was like, oh, there's hurdles. So I'm like, what are hurdles? And he's like, those barriers that are around the track. So instantly when I started running them, I had a horrible form. Like my form used to be, I used to curve my leg in instead of kicking it out, and definitely was not good form. But even with that form over a period of time, I mean, I don't think I've ever, to be honest with you, lost one track meet at Wyoming High School until state. I mean, I remember a time where our bus was late to districts or I believe it was regionals. I'm sorry. Our bus was late to regionals, and the bus pulled up while my race was getting started. And I jumped off the bus, put my spikes on, jumped over the fence without any blocks,
Yeah.
got in the blocks, and won the race. And it was like with horrible form. And so that was just the raw talent that I had. And
Yeah.
that memory sticks out to me very clearly. And it was just like, even in college, just like I was really good in my conference, and I didn't really run into a lot of people until I went to regionals, just like high school. And that's when you ran into the uh Aries Merritts and the Antoine Hicks
Yeah.
and everybody else who you're going to meet at nationals, which was then I was like, okay, now I've got a lot more to work on than I realized.
Yeah. Well, that's just an awesome story. Just to be able to talk yourself on the team, then talk yourself over the hurdle. Most athletes running away from the hurdles, but you was like, man, I want to do this hurdles, and to the fact that you was able to do it so well, I'm trying to figure out, if you was doing some serious hurdling over at the that David Payne Park back in the days. I mean, you probably was doing a whole lot, but I want to get one more question in regarding to this college. So just give me a quick summary of your college career. What was the highlight? What was your best place finish at the NCAA? And what how far you was able to go? Because you're still young in the business then, So what you
I,
was able to accomplish then?
I I did good in college back then. I still probably was never I was never satisfied, but I would say I believe in 2003. In 2003, I got third place at NCAA's, and I ran 13:53. And it was ironic because that next year I also went to NCAA's and ran 13:53, and 13:53 that year got me fifth place. So right there was a testimony to how quick the event moved, progressed forward. You're not going to be able to run that same time every year and get third place. And so to me, that just meant like I need to get my sprinting under control. And so that to me was like my main focus. But I really wanted to try to shut down the game with making up for, like you said, because I didn't used to start fast at all. Like I had really had to work on my sprinting and hurdling technique, which I give all my credit to Alicia Brewer and Brandon Hahn, which were two of my previous coaches. Who Alicia changed my whole hurdle technique. She changed my lead leg to my trail leg, and when she changed it, she would tell me all the time, "You can run 13.3," and that was me not even knowing I could run 13.5 at that point. So that changed the whole game to me. But I definitely give them great props for helping me with that. It was something that really changed the game.
All right, big shout out to those two coaches. One is a female, Alicia Brewer, and Brandon. I know the type of work and the type of effort you guys got to put in to get that technique right and to get that stride pattern. Most kids, when we already go to college, we already start hurdling from high school, man. But just for you to start learning in college, that got to be a lot of work. But you improve so fast. So we're gonna hold on to that a little bit, and over to you, Ian.
All right, David. Quick one here. Just listening to your story, you weren't like the regular kid who started athletics at an early age, or decided that you wanted to do it. But when you finally decide on doing athletics, how tough was that transitioning period, for you to get yourself in? And just want to ask you this quick one, because as you go in, you'll have rivalry. How well were you accepted? I know most people, when you're athlete, top athlete, you're loved by everybody. But just given your situation, I don't know how well I'll take you if you just come and run and beat me.
Yeah, I'm getting a slight echo from you, Ian. So check on that
Okay.
in a bit. Go ahead, David.
So you mean like, like how I use my like rivalries, or like, who were my rivalries? I didn't really understand the question. I'm sorry.
No, I was saying that tough was that transitioning, to get yourself there and actually, start running time you're beating others. So like how well were you
Oh, okay.
welcomed by your fellow teammate basically?
Right. Well, I got to give props to Brandon Hahn for this, because I mean he used to coach me, and like, in the beginning of the year, as soon as the year happens and you see all these people jump out there and they're like running all these fast times, I would get mad anxious. And he would just say, you got to trust in the process. And like, you have to trust in the process of also believing your coach, believing that what your coach is telling you is what needs to be done in order to accomplish that first place or that time. And he definitely helped me with that. Like I used to have a problem with the first hurdle. I smacked the first hurdle one time and almost got injured. And after that, I always had a problem running up to the first hurdle because I would just run into it. I had so much speed, and he helped me with that. But I would definitely say that keeping that mentality that I was just never a person who gave up. Like I just was never satisfied. And when I turned that into just, my technique became better, my speed became better, my endurance became better. Helped the 400 hurdles definitely helped me out, and I'll talk about that a little bit more when we move past my college years and I go to training with some of these professional coaches. But at the same time, it was like having that mentality never to give up, and the people in your corner that help back you definitely pushed me to get on the same page as these hurdlers out there that was running 13.1 and 13.2s, and was consistently doing it. I mean, if you're running 13.0, 13.1, you're an elite hurdler. I would say 13.2, you're definitely elite, but I mean, you drop down to 13.1 and you're moving.
Okay, quick one. And who would have been your early role model in terms of athletics, or did you have any other role model that you like, man?
I did. I mean, I looked up to Roger Kingdom. I looked up to Alan Johnson. I mean, those two probably were the biggest ones. I mean, Alan Johnson won a medal in Athens. I mean, I'm sorry, Atlanta in 1996. If I could win an Olympic medal in my country, man, you can't tell me nothing. Like, I know that experience was crazy. Being out in the streets, walking around, you won that medal in your home country, in your home state and city. Like, that's how can you beat that? So, I mean, that had to be an awesome experience.
And during this period, what would have been the best advice you have received that would have helped to propel you along the way?
I got a lot of advice actually. I would have to say my best advice came from Brooks Johnson, who was another one of my coach. He's coached so many Olympic medalists and Olympians. I would say the best advice I got was from him, and he told me that when he told me the statement. He said when preparation, how does it go? It's when opportunity meets preparation, a champion is born, basically. And what that statement means is always be prepared. There's never a time where you should not be prepared. So, for example, when and I guess I'm going a little further, but for example, when I didn't make the team in 2007, I was pretty disappointed because that was what people don't know is that was after 3 years of getting sixth and fifth place. Now I was ready to actually make the team, and I just missed it and got fourth place after they take the top three. So when I didn't make the team, I could have just stopped and been like, I didn't make the team. But no, because when opportunity meets someone who's prepared, a champion is born. So me and my coach were right back to practicing, and we was practicing like I was actually getting ready for a meet. Even though we was going overseas, all the athletes go back, but I was still coming off of the high of just being in the finals of that race. So it was a shock to me that Dominique Arnold pulled out of the race, and I was training like I was going right into that actual meet, even though it was in China. So I was prepared, and that was something that I have, even though he was a coach in one of my latter years, I've always taken that advice because you can take that advice and put that towards anything you do in your life. Always prepare, for the unknown. And as long as you're preparing, you'll always be ready. And that's definitely what inspired me to continue to run. And that's what got me those medals, basically.
Great. I know a lot of athletes, they would have faced disappointment along their career. What would you say to somebody who basically had prepared and somehow may have just produced the time that was just not good enough to get them to that world game or that Olympic champion? How do they pick themselves up?
I mean, easily, I would say failing is definitely a part of winning. I don't know anyone who hasn't failed. I mean, the people who are the best are the people who failed in order to realize what they needed to do to become the best. If you just won all the time, then when you did fail, you wouldn't understand because you think you did everything that needed to be done. But when you fail, you actually start to see things that you can increase on and improve on. And those are the real true moments. Like, obviously the good moments are when you put everything into fruition, and when you're practicing, you put everything into it and you're doing what you're supposed to do, and then you achieve that gold medal. You're like, yes, I did everything I needed to do. But what are you looking at? I hardly ever hear people who win say, I could have done this better, or this I could have did. They're just so caught up in being the winner, they're not really looking at that. I mean, I know most professional athletes still go back and look at the videos to see what they can do, but the advice would be to take your fails and your opportunities where you didn't do well and capitalize off of that. And the same thing in life, capitalize off of that, because those are the things that you're going to learn that's going to help you in the future. And you can turn around and tell someone else how to not make that same mistake or to get up off their feet from that same mistake. So the things that you fail at are going to turn around and be the things that are going to help you achieve whatever it is that you need to achieve in the long run.
Man, thank you. Big advice there. So failures sometimes make us into our greatest. Bring out the greatest potential in us. So
No
thank you
doubt,
very
no
much. Back
doubt.
to you, Ian.
All right. Thanks, man. So, man, I'm just really getting excited, but I want to jump back to 2004, but I just want to make sure I get the record straight. When was your last season for the Bearcats? When did you finish
My
competing?
last season was 2004.
Okay, all right, got it. So let's talk about 2004. So pretty much, man, you finished competing for the Bearcats. You actually qualified for the Olympic trials. Just tell us a little bit. I know, I could say this as a former athlete that sometime when you go through a little bit of the experience, just tell us what was the experience like in '04 when you went to the trials. I know that you was disappointed, but back then, what were you thinking about your future after competing at the trials?
A whole nother world opened up for me. I mean, I was excited to be out there when I like it was weird. I was excited to bring you bring back memories I actually forgot. I was excited because I mean, even though I knew I was good, it was like I was seeing people who I never saw before, but was like track gods. I mean, I was looking at Gail Devers and Alan Johnson and like all these huge coaches who were also past Olympians and stuff, and I'm just walking around like, holy crap! Like I've made it to where everyone wants to make it to, and I think getting a taste of that was all I needed. Because I mean, I don't think I made it out of the semifinals, but at the same time, it was like I'm definitely coming back here. This is motivation enough. All I got to do is keep working. And I think that year, even though I didn't do well, I got like 3 calls from 3 agents who basically said, yo, if you keep working, I definitely think you can do well and we can definitely get you a contract. And that's when it all started.
All right. All right, guys. So 2004, David didn't make it to the Olympics, but this is going to be a story, man, that I mean, I'm just so inspired. So let's talk about your 2005 season. Now, you finished school. Tell us, I know that training without a sponsor, having no money, just tell us about '05. What was that like just trying to train? To be an athlete and just trying to just to say, man, I want to continue to do this.
Yeah.
After finishing college.
It was rough, man. I mean, you talking about like I remember I used to David Oliver used to talk about eating pancake mix. I mean, I was on that. I mean, I was eating noodles and I was in a nice apartment with no furniture, and it was just hard, man. It was like you couldn't get the sponsor, you couldn't get respect. Your times were out there with the top 5 in the world, but the game for the top 5 is already sold up. So you're the last one out or you're the last couple out. And basically you just got to grind until you can get up into that top spot. And it was rough, honestly. And like the agent game also was something that I had to learn. Every agent is a person. You got to learn that person. And I would definitely say the agents that I had also led me down the paths that also kind of directed my career in certain ways. But I would definitely say that I just wanted to eventually come and get back on that stage that I had when I left in 2004 and be a name to be known. And it was hard to do that in 2005 because it was me trying to figure out, okay, who's my agent and who's the good agent. And when I started running the times that like I would run 13.2 and I would see people running races in, all over Amsterdam and Hanglo and Madrid. I'm like, well, they're running 13.3. How am I not over there? And so that became something that I also had to understand. And once I did get with the right agent, though, that became a non-factor. And so all that I explained was 2005 and 2006 because nothing actually happened for me for either one of those years. I think I went to one meet in Hanglo. It was my first time that I ever ran international meet, and I got like third to Terrence Trammell, which was not the first time I seen him, but it was the first time I raced against him on an international race, and it was so like this was what I'm gonna do. Like there's no thoughts about anything else. This is what I'm gonna do. And after that, like it was like all about just trying to get to the top spot. And that's when 2007 rolled up.
Yeah. Well, before we get into 2007, I just want to say, because I know you said something about being an agent, and I work along with agents. I'm also an agent. I know a lot of time, especially in the track and field business, especially when you're up and coming athlete. If you're running 13, we're going to use your time as example. If you're running 13.2 and another guy running 13.2, and you're beating that guy, but that guy was running 13.2 before you from the year before, they're gonna get in the meets over you.
Absolutely.
Right,
Absolutely.
So, but if you're looking at it as it is, I mean, because you don't really go back and look on this guy and see what he done the year before or whatever. No, if you're trying to get a guy space, you got to run faster than that guy.
Right.
You can't run what he run and think.
You got to knock him out of his space. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You can't barely do it. You gotta knock him out because you're trying to get where he at. He already got experience on you. He already kind of known. So track and field is all about names. And to remember what you have done. You could go to a meet and win it the year before, and then doing bad the year after. But because they remember you from last year, they say we want the defending champion back. Mm-hmm. It doesn't work like that all the time. There's a lot of inconsistency sometimes, but on a little short summary, that's how it is. I'm gonna send you over to Ian because when you come back, man, we're gonna talk about this 07 season.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, David. Since you're there and we're talking about agents, I know that plays a very important role. But say a young athlete now coming up, they are not aware of all the role that it plays. Could you tell us how important it is to have an agent and not have to worry about the off the field activities?
Man, that's so important, man. You don't have time to be on the track worried about your travel, your luggage, your hotel, your transportation, your food, your appearance fee, your next meet, how you getting there. Like you don't have time to be worrying about any of that. All you have time to worry about is winning that particular performance. And half the time we be so focused, like we're there, but we're not. Like we have a mission, basically. We're on a mission. And you see everybody, and as soon as I see another runner, another runner that's in my event, especially, I'm in savage competition mode constantly. I mean, I can smile and we can talk and we can laugh. And a lot of the hurdlers are actually friends, but that doesn't mean we not because you either going for somebody's spot or somebody's coming for your spot. Once you realize that, that's the game.
So from what you're telling me, it is very, very crucial to have an agent to take away.
Definitely. You don't have time to be, you can't really focus on that. And I've seen other athletes who have tried to be their own agent or, didn't have an agent. And like, it's very hard for them to do. You know what I'm saying? It's like that agent serves as that in-between person. You don't want to have to be trying to settle what your fees are and do all of that with a meet director and all that. Like that's something that someone else who has your best interest in hand should be doing, so that all you have to do is show up and perform off after all those months of grueling practice.
All right. Given all the training, all the practice and everything, how important it is to be mentally ready for an event?
I think it's more important to be mentally ready than it is to be physically ready, even though you can't go without being physically ready. I just feel like if you go and you're not physically ready, you can still kind of pull, or you're not as physically ready as you should be. You can pull a win out if you're more mentally prepared than the person next to you. But I think ultimately you still have to be physically prepared. But I would just say, like, mentally is, man, you can't second guess yourself. You have to be your own first number one fan. Like, you can't let what no one says about you. You can't let what no one is screaming out in the audience, like, good or bad. You have to be centered in on what your goal is. So mental is like, for me, number one. You have to have 100% mental capacity to be competing against these extreme top 5, top 10 athletes in the world.
Could you share with the audience, over your event, any specific thing that you would do in terms of getting yourself prepared for like a race tomorrow before that race?
Definitely pray. I'm a Christian, so I definitely pray. I pray before my race. I pray when I get on the plane. I'm always praying. But I also, I give my race up to God. Like, I don't worry about my race when I get there, because if you don't have it, you're not going to have it. The things I pay attention to when I go to a race is trying to be calm, trying to let the energy flow out of my body so that what I've worked on can come out in a race. Because sometimes we practice, and then you hit a damn hurdle and you're like, oh crap. And everything you practice, none of that happens. You're just trying to get back to where you were in contention in the race, and you're looking back at your race and you're like, man, that's horrible. All this stuff we practiced, and because you had hit that hurdle or you had that moment, it just threw you off your game.
All right, thank you. Back to you, Ian.
All right, awesome, great. So David, now we're up to the 2007 season, man. This is probably one of the most memorable and successful season. It's actually the real start of your professional career. I know. Actually, let me move up a little bit. I got to ask you this question. You ran in Jamaica in 2006. Tell me about your experience in Kingston, Jamaica.
Wow. So I actually won that race. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So that race, actually, I almost didn't even make it, because me and my mom left, and as she was driving me to the airport, she just burst out into tears because we ran into traffic, and it was like no way we were going to make it. But somehow, by the grace of God, we ended up getting to the airport, and I made the flight. And I went over there, and I was shocked and happy, and a new experience. I mean, the people were so amazing, and the crowd was just like so loud, and they were live. They were 3D, and I hadn't experienced that really like that ever. That was like, what soon to would become like what my everyday life was. But just to be in Jamaica, it was crazy. I mean, huge moths flying around. Like, that was just little bitty. You got it was just an amazing experience. And then I also met other athletes who I didn't know had went pro, like Ron Bramlett. Obviously, Ron Bramlett was going to go pro. Who went to Alabama? He was awesome. I mean, Joe Brown. And I mean, you go to meets and you don't know who's there until you get there and you look on the list, or unless you're going online to look to see who's going to be there. That's also something that I didn't like to do. I didn't like to know who I was going to go run against. I just wanted to go, and when I got there, that's who I was running against. Because I didn't want to have any negative or preconceived notions of like, oh, I'm getting nervous because Dayron Robles is going to be there and he's an amazing starter, or I'm getting nervous because David Oliver's there and he's super strong and his technique is fire. Like, I just wanted to focus on me going with what I had and not worry about who's going to be there until I got there. Now I'm there, and it's like, oh, you there? I'm here too. So it was more so like that. I never really got nervous. I was just always wanted to be prepared for whoever it was that was there.
All right. Well, I'm glad that you was able, to experience what track and field is like in Jamaica. The environment. I know you have a good time. I know you didn't eat too much. I know we just gotta just ask you one more question. But what did you like to eat? What's your favorite meal over there? If you remember.
I think I actually had after I ran, I think I had like oxtails or something like that. Like, that was really good. I had some rice and oxtails and some plantains, and that was good right there.
All right, awesome. Well, So we're going to move along now to the '07 season. So, '06 started out, you keep getting better, you're improving. So you get to '07, man, and you're having a great season. You actually went all the way and finished fourth at the trials, and you got a chance to represent Team USA at the Pan American Games. So before we get into into the climax of the story, tell us, what was your first experience like representing Team USA in Brazil?
Hold on 1 second. I think I just heard somebody. I want to make sure that there's
Yeah.
nothing going on right
You're
there.
good. You're good.
Apologies.
Yeah. Yeah, man, Ian. So, this is an amazing story that we're going to talk about, because 2007, he actually finished fourth at the trials. So he finished fourth. So he's on the top three go. So he's just trying to run as much meet as possible. But they have got another tournament called the Pan American Games, which a lot of the athletes that finished first and second decline. The invitation. So David get a chance to go to the Pan American Games. So he went over there, and I think he took second, and he finished second against the world. There was another guy named Roberts from Cuba. He's been dominating the event for many years. So David got a chance to run against him. But the big story that we're going to talk about, and we're going to go and let the viewers know, but David was home, so he thought his season was over. So he was home, and he's going to tell his story better than me because it's his story. But all I know that he got a call at 3 o'clock. He was on the plane at 5 o'clock.
Wow.
He got into Japan at 7 o'clock that night. He went out there and run 10 o'clock in the morning, and he went on. So there was 3 rounds. So that was the first round. So he traveled 14 hours on the plane, and he was able to win a silver medal, man. So he got the name Clutch Payne because that was a clutch move. So
Sorry about that.
no, I was just giving a little preview of the story. But let's move back to Pan American Games. Just tell us what was the first experience. So, man, you're gonna get to wear the Team USA uniform. First opportunity to come along. You get into, now you feel like, man, I'm gonna represent my country. Tell us, how was that experience like, man?
Yo, that was so exciting, man. I was so excited. Like,
Yeah.
any athletes you ask how excited they were to wear a USA t-shirt and walk on a team and see their face on the internet, on the site where the person made the team. Like, that's crazy. Getting a luggage full of gear and you got teammates and all your teammates are top tier athletes. That was, I don't know, that was just like, I did it. Like, I made it. Like, and not like I did it like the ultimate, but like things that I actually never thought I was going to do, but just I knew that was something that I wanted to do actually happened. And a lot of people told me not to go to the Pan American Games because a lot of athletes some athletes don't go. Like, I think David Oliver or somebody might have actually turned it down. And the reason why I went was because someone else said no. So for me, it was my one chance that if I never did anything after that, I actually made a U.S. team. So that was significant for me.
Amen to that, man. So you get a little taste of the pie. So them guys, what God was orchestrating for you, nobody knows at the time, because it come to find out that the same guy that you ran against at the Pan American game, he was the favorite to win the
Robles. Yeah.
yeah, he was the favorite to win the world championship. So look, just give us a timeline, man. Just tell us about this dream that you have, or you end up in Japan.
Oh my God. So, like I said, 2007 U.S. Nationals, I didn't make the team, and Dominique Arnold gets injured, and again, like, this is also some things that like people didn't know, but because I was fourth at U.S. Nationals, I was the next on the list to go. I was an alternate, and they say that to you when you get fourth place. But anyone who gets fourth place knows that third place person is not giving up their spot unless they get injured. So being an alternate is just being a strong person and knowing like better luck next time, unless a miracle happens or unfortunately something worse happens and someone's injured and you have to step up. But I was not expecting it at all. I was pissed off because I didn't make the team. But like I said, I went straight back to training and I got that call. It was like 4 a.m. It was like 3:50 in the morning. And I actually just switched agents. I switched the agent that I was with to another agent, and you know this agent very well, Ian. And this was maybe only like 3 days after me switching over to this agent. So God was in my corner, man. I'm so blessed. He basically called me and was like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm asleep, bro. What's good?" Like, he was like, "So are you ready to be a part of the U.S. team and go run for this championship?" And I'm like, "Why are you calling me in the morning? Like, what is going on?" He was like, "Okay, so do you want to be on the U.S. team and go try to get a medal at 2007 World Championships in Osaka, Japan?" And I sat up straight and I was like, are you kidding me? I probably said a whole bunch of cuss words. And he was like, "I have a ticket for you right now. Go pack your bag. You got to be at the airport in basically 35, 40 minutes. I stayed like 15 minutes away from the airport, thank God. And I actually threw a bag together, drove to the airport, flew like, what was it, like 15 or 16 hours.
Yeah.
And as soon as I got off the plane, I think I had like 1 or 2 hours of sleep, and I went and ran my first race, and I won both of my prelims or semis until I was able to get into the finals, where it was the real showdown.
Man. So this is just I'm trying to find a word to describe this. I mean, this is a supernatural, this is just orchestrated by God, because I know for me, when I don't make the team, I'm about done, man. I'm ready to go on vacation. I'm like, man,
Agreed.
yeah, just I know the chances of someone giving up that spot is always very, very slim.
Slim to none. Anybody
Yeah,
give up that spot?
yeah. I know people actually. I finished fourth at the first Olympic trials, and sometimes people even actually would go to the championship injured.
Right.
Injured.
They're not giving up that spot.
They're not
Like,
giving
they
up
made
that
that
spot.
team. They want that pitcher. They want that
Yeah,
gear.
yeah,
They gonna even get in the blocks, maybe.
yeah, yeah. So that was
Facts.
I'm happy that Domino Arnold did the right thing. And make sure USA got the best representation if he wasn't able to go. So we're gonna talk about this. So now I know going to the Pan American game, you was able to experience what it's like, because David, I think one of your best attributes is you could run rounds. I
Man,
think
that was, I'm telling you, like I said, like I didn't jump out the window in the beginning of the year.
yeah.
Like right now, you will see like Omar McLeod will jump out the window in the beginning of the year with like a 13 flat. Like, I'm opening up with 13-3, 13-4. Like, and even with the year going on, I needed multiple races in order to get hot. So if you gave me rounds, that was probably the worst thing you could do, because now I had a race where I messed up. Now I can make it better. Now I got another round where we at the finals. I'm going to destroy you. Now I'm going to take everything that I couldn't do and I'm going to do it in the finals. So rounds actually helped me, because you hit that one hurdle, and especially because I was a slow starter, and that's why I had a problem that I had to get over with hitting the first hurdle, because I was getting out so fast. I would smack the first hurdle, and if you clobber the first hurdle, I mean, your momentum is pretty much done. And so it was something that I had to get together, but ultimately, I mean, I did it basically.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, that's the difference. You know the legacy of Usain Bolt. One of He's so good running the rounds. The rounds actually sharpen him up,
Right.
for the finals. So you was one of those athletes, and you got other athletes that are good on the circuit. They could give you one round, and they could run the first round the best, and then they don't run as fast in the second or third round. But
Right. But
that was
let me tell you what one of the secrets, one of my secrets was, and we already talked about it. One of my secrets was that I was a 400 hurdler in disguise. Like you got like athletes like Queen Harris, like if you can run a 400 hurdle race, but also switch gears to run a 110 race, you're dangerous. And so I was training with the likes of people like Michael Tinsley, or coming from coaches who coach James Carter or Francina McCory. Like these people, Debbie Dunn, Marion Jones, these people were at the least in so much shape. Like they were in the best shape ever. Like that's the one thing that they were first and foremost. Like I realize hurdling technique is important, but even if your hurdling technique is A1, you still got to be in the best shape of your life. And running the 400 hurdles did that for me. Coach Maurice Pierce for Hampton University, he was my coach for I believe it was 2008 into 2009, and he was crazy in a good way. But like I remember taking off a boot that I wore to run 300s in 32 seconds, putting the cast back on, and then going to my weightlifting class. He was like, "You're gonna get these done. You're gonna get this done because first and foremost, you're gonna have endurance for this race, and you're gonna have endurance for the season." And I mean, I was running in September at Nagasaki in Japan. Like, if you're running in September, you're in shape. You've been able to run throughout that whole season, which is way longer than a collegiate season. So that endurance was like, that was so key to me being able to run a lot of rounds. And like in 2008, we'll get to this, but like 2008, I was hurt the whole beginning of my season. And it was, thank God I had those rounds. Like a lot of people don't want to run the rounds. It's like, oh man, I just barely made it past this round. Oh man, I got to run another round. I'm like, oh man, I'm going to, because most athletes only focus on that first race. Like we might have 2 or 3 races to get to the final race, but right now you got to focus on the race that's at hand. So if you run a catastrophe but you make it to the next round, that race is over with. Now focus on the next race. And so you just got to make sure that you're doing everything you got to do. But I was dead focused on getting through to the rounds where it was like, oh, next round as a positive to help me get better.
Yeah, awesome, man, awesome. And I'm sure that's just going to be a lesson that you're going to teach young athletes and everybody that may come across that. Look, you got to learn to run rounds. You got to know that, look, the rounds going to get you prepared. The rounds, because the rounds doesn't count when the final is finished. So it's all that matter. There's people that
right
finish third in their rounds, and go on to win a medal the next day. So that's awesome. I want to see if I could go back and I want to see if I could show a little clip of the World Championship.
You got clips? He got clips?
Yeah, okay. yeah. This is just really good. So we just want to share with the viewers a little preview of what happened at the first this is 07, yeah, 07 World Championship. Yeah, so let's. Yeah, yeah, so we're gonna
出发了，快速第一个来，罗斯稍事领先，注意第三位，刘翔按照自己节奏在往前赶，刘翔加速，刘翔加速，加速，拼了，赢了，刘翔世锦赛冠军。
Hey, first of all, let me just say, can we talk about Lu Sheng for a second? Lu Sheng.
Okay, yeah.
Lu Sheng was one of the best athletes in the world. I mean, I didn't even know who I was running on the track with, and he was the highest paid athlete in the world before the boxer. What is the boxer's name? Floyd. And I didn't believe it. I didn't believe it. I looked it up, and he was getting paid so much, and the agents were backing him so much. I didn't realize when he got injured later on why it was so devastating. But I think my hidden talent is not being able to know who my competitors are, because I've always been the underdog. So I'm coming in not caring who's on the line, no matter when I'm running. And when it became like I was the one who was winning and not the one who was coming for the winners, that was something that became difficult for me, because then you peaked and then it was everyone's coming after you now instead of you are coming after them, which you're always going after somebody unless you're wearing that Nike gold bib through the season. But it's still like, once you become top 3 and now every time you run, people are looking for your time. They're turning their head. They're like, oh man, he's running this week. It's about to be something hot. Now you're having to defend your spot, like you said, and they're got to knock you out. And so everybody's coming to knock you out of your spot. So it gets a little harder to manage. Like, that's something that I always wanted to talk to athletes about. Managing being the best. Like, I don't know how Serena Williams and LeBron James do it. Like,
yeah.
Fans are they love you and they hate you. Like, I've heard people say Serena Williams wasn't great sometimes just because she didn't win a tennis match. I'm like, well, she just won 5 majors ago, so let her lose one round. You know what I'm saying? So, but that's something, that mentality right there, that's always kept me alive.
All right, awesome, man. Yeah, that was awesome. Knowing that, as I said, that story in itself, man. So Ian, you could call him Clutch Payne going forward, man.
Yeah, definitely. Gonna come with a few questions from this actually happening, which is, I would consider it your God moment. Finishing 4th. You're just one spot outside of wearing that American dream outfit, and here you have to go home. I want you to just talk to us first about the disappointment, probably not in your time or anything, but the fact that you missed out on going off to represent the US. How did that feel? That moment?
Man, it was so devastating, because what people don't realize, like, when people watch TV, they only realize what they see. Like, they don't know that you had to run 3 times to make it to the finals to actually get TV time and stuff like that. So instantly it took me back to my high school years when I got caught at a party and I knew I was going to go to state that next weekend and do great. And it just turned into travesty. It was like, I was depressed. I was so upset. So again, this happening on a whole nother level was like, not again. And I was like, I'm not going to let, and that's another reason why I went straight back into training. Like, I'm not going to let this bother me. It's like breaking up. It's like, I'm still going to work hard. I'm still going to be in the gym, getting my body right. I'm still going to be doing this regardless of how I feel on the inside. You still got to be prepared. So, I mean, but I was devastated. I ain't even gonna lie. I was pretty messed up on the inside. But that's what great athletes do, man. You take a loss, or when you don't do well, and you say that's not gonna happen again, and you don't let it happen again.
Man, one thing I know, your faith in God, man, as a believer. So here you are now. The door is open. You got that call, and here it's the moment. I made it, because this gotta be divine. That's how I know you're gonna look at it. That this gotta be from God. Because like you say, that athlete could have gone injured. You pretend, but here it is. God opened up that door for you, and here you are going off to represent the USA right now. What was your little private moment or session with God? What did you say to God when you're going?
Basically in my mind, I was like, oh, you messed up, God. Like, you let me in. Like, you let me get here. I'm in the club now. Like, that, it's over. Like, thank you, Jesus. Because honestly, there was so many times where it could have went left. And that's another thing. Like, if you just continue to stay the course, like, you may not even know how it's going to happen, which honestly, if whoever's listening to the story, like, I would have never thought I'd be here with this story from where I was in so many different stages of my life. But I just believed that if I continue to work hard and continue to do what I need to do, that I was going to make it. I was just like, I'm not going to let this happen again. I'm going to actually make this team. God, you let me in this club, I'm never leaving again. So I'm gonna, and then it was like, okay, now I don't just want to be here. Now I need to try to dominate. I want my name on the wall. I want to run records. I want to be the American record holder. I want to run sub 13, which I never did, which is one thing that one of the things I'm not, still holding on to, not being able to accomplish that and not winning an Olympic gold medal. We're never satisfied, man. We love to win and we love to be competitive and good nature, but a true athlete is just never satisfied.
Hey,
Great,
Ian,
great.
Ian, let me share one thing with you. David didn't even say that the time that he ran in 07, he ran a personal best time.
Oh, I did.
Wow.
I did. Because I think at that time, hey, but I'm telling you, Ian, I was lean. I was doing everything that, like, I didn't know, but 07 was my perfect year. It was like all the things that I was doing, I couldn't even tell that what I was doing was getting me ready for this time. I had, it's like when you say just put your head down and you just grind. Like I grinded 05, 06, and 07, and I didn't see any results until the end of 07. And that was crazy. It was like to go from 13, I think my PR was like 13:19, to go run 13:02. That is godly in track and field. Sub 13 is, if you ran sub 13, anybody knows who your name is. Because I mean, if it was a legal win and you ran sub 13, you're respected in the world of track and field in the 110-meter hurdles.
Yep, definitely. And I want to go back to something that you said earlier, David. I may not say it in the way you have put it, but it's basically the same thing. Because earlier you said, it is good to at least be prepared, and not have an opportunity, than basically to have an opportunity and not be ready. And I'm happy that you were ready, man. You basically still was in training, top shape. You got here, and now you're in. I want to know about that legacy in terms of your feeling. How did you feel when you walked on that podium to collect a medal?
I couldn't hear the last part. You started breaking up. You said
Yeah.
on the podium. I think there's a little there's something wrong with the reception.
Ian.
Yes, I unmute myself to see if it was my side here. But I wanted to know, how did you feel when you go on the podium?
I can't hear. It might be. It's like a loud echo.
Yeah. So Ian is going to exit himself. Exit yourself, Ian, and let me remember.
Doing what it was doing when you first started, and I love back in.
Yeah. I'll be some between me and you. Hey guys, we're just coming back, so we're just moving along. We're down to the 2007 season with Olympian David Payne. As I said, he ran a 13:02 in Japan after get a overnight call. So we just got to realize that sometime when you ready, it doesn't go according to plan, and sometime when you're ready, it doesn't go to plan. So it just gotta be God's timing for that. So before they joining back in, we just want to continue to move on. Going to show got plenty of things to talk about. So this was another moving up before the 2008 Olympics. David. So this I'm gonna give him some fireworks right now. awesome, guys. So as I'm here, just entertaining you guys until they're able to come back in studio. Just had a small technical difficulty, but we're going to go ahead. I think here we go. Ian is back right now. So yeah, we're waiting for David. He actually exit himself also.
Yeah,
Yeah.
was my,
Are you hearing me, Ian?
yeah, I'm hearing you.
Yeah. So David actually went out. He thought that it was his, so he working on his side.
Yeah, because I'm on mute and it was I still hear it.
Yeah. Something was interfering with the feed. So yeah, while David come back in, I'm gonna try to show also another race that it would be great to talk to him about towards his 2007 season right here. So let's get it going there.
Cleanly away, Trammell looking very good. The American third from right. Trammell chopping some hurdles. He's looking good. He's under pressure though from David Payne. Trammell getting overtaken. David Oliver coming up, and it's tight on the line. Tight on the line.
Yeah.
It may be your
All
side,
right,
Ian.
Ian. So yeah. No, everything is fine. Did some yeah. I'm just waiting for David to come back, and I was just sharing that video there while he come back. Yeah. So just to highlight what we talk about. We're moving along. Gonna touch base towards this Olympic year, but 2007, as I said, it was just a dream year for David for what he was able to accomplish. After finishing fourth and get a call to go to the World Championship. So we're going to talk about 2008 season. I know you got some other questions for him. When he comes back, but we're going to talk about his.
It's a good feeling when you're home and like, man, I didn't make it, and all of a sudden you get that call. You must be like you're in heaven.
Yeah. And some people get the call sometime and they turn it down because they were like, "Oh, I stopped training. I'm not ready. I don't want to go at the last minute." They start thinking about a whole lot of things, But the type of kid that he was, the fact that he been overcoming obstacles. I mean, and I think to this day that's what make him who he becomes. So let me he's back here now. Let me bring him back in. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. So I've tried.
Yeah, and I think it's your mic, don't you? It's still, it's your side.
Yeah, because I'm not using any mic or nothing. Yeah. 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 I'm not using any mic or anything. David, that always sounds certain to you. Are you hearing clear?
I hear you clear.
Yeah. Ian, always sounding to you.
No, you're coming through static.
Yeah, that's right. I've been hearing it from the beginning. Yeah, I was hearing an echoing coming from your side. Yeah. So yeah, so let's move along. Ian, just check if David able to hear it.
David, are you hearing me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You're a little choppy. Ian is a little clearer.
Yeah.
No, what is going on here?
That sounded better.
Yeah. All right. So all right, so let's move along, Ian. It seemed like we're getting a better. Still hearing a little rash, but we're hearing you clear.
All right. David, you're hearing Ian clear, right?
Yeah, we're back.
I'm not here. I'll be out. I'll be back.
Awesome. Sorry. All right. So we're gonna we're gonna move along until Ian comes back.
Okay.
Yeah. So so the 2007 season, as I said, you ran that 13:02. I've you just was having a good season. You actually won in Doha. You won a Super Grand Prix there.
Man, that was
Yeah,
that
I
race
actually
right
showed that
there.
race early on.
Oh man,
Yeah,
that race right there was another moment. It was like, first of all, Terrence Trammell runs. He's such an amazing athlete because he ran sub 10 and sub 13. So if anybody knows, like, first of all, how can you start with somebody who has, back then it was closer to world record pace, but someone who can run sub 10 as a hurdler? And I also think that was some of his downfall. He was so fast, he was too fast for himself. And
yeah,
he got faster in between the hurdles that he could negotiate the hurdles.
yeah,
I mean, he was able to, at the end of the day, become a better hurdler than I was, running sub 13 several times. But to be able to start with someone who can run sub 10 as a hurdler, I mean, there's a lot of them, a lot of Jamaicans, Andrew Riley, Hansel Parchment, Omar McLeod. I mean, a lot of the competitors was able to run sub 10. And when you can run sub 10, I mean, you're just up there. You're just floating with all the elite athletes, and you know what needs to be done. You know what you're doing. You're doing your Olympic lifts. You're going to practice every day. Your nutrition is hitting. It's just you just floating up there where you should be with all the athletes. So for me to come out there and go to that caliber track meet where
yeah,
David Oliver was there, just these heavy hitters, and go and win. And it was like my first meet. It was my first meet. And I
yeah,
said, "Oh,
yeah,
they done messed up. I'm in here. I'm in this club now." I mean, you know how hot it was over in Doha?
yeah,
I think
yeah,
at like 6 a.m. it was 106 degrees. And so that particular track meet, I didn't even go and do the workout that I was supposed to. My coach said, "Nope, shut it down. It's too hot. Go do a short warm up. You already ready. You know what you have to do." And I was actually nervous because that
yeah.
was probably one of the best races I've had as a first race.
Wow. Yeah, I am trying to check the record to see because I do believe I was in Doha 2007. You know, I have that's one of my favorite places to run. I just
Yeah,
love
it was awesome.
yeah, I just love running in Doha. I've been going to Doha. It was one of my first races back then. So it's just always awesome just to go back there to that country.
The
They
track
love
was
track.
amazing too. The whole experience. I mean,
Yeah,
the whole
yeah,
experience was amazing.
yeah,
I
yeah,
hated the flight now. Again, I hated that
yeah,
flight. What was it?
yeah.
That was a long flight. What was it?
Yeah.
How long
That's
was
that's
that?
like it's like 8 to London. Then that's halfway. So with connection and all of that, it can go all the way from
It
16 to
was
20
it was a
hours.
lot. It was a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah, yeah. All right, Ian. So how's things over there?
I think we're good here again.
All right, it's sounding good. So before I get over to the '08 Olympics, yeah, we give the floor to you.
And I almost lost my chain of thought there. But what I really wanted to know, David, was with God being on your side, he's working for you right now. And I said you went off and you actually medal. I just wanted to know how did it feel, or how did you celebrate that medal? 'Cause it must have been something special.
In '07,
Yeah, when you got the call, you finished fourth. You got that call. Wow.
All right,
Wow.
hold on. Let me get that. Let me get that on screen because yeah, that's
that's that
that.
Wow.
that's that
Yeah,
that's that
yeah.
oh that's that '07 medal.
Okay,
Wow.
okay. Awesome, awesome,
Wow.
awesome. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. All right. So
Talk about it, man.
Man, that 07 experience. Wait, ask it one more time so I can make sure I answer it completely.
I know. I just wanted to know the feeling, man. Just
That 07 experience was like mind blowing, man. Like so much happened in that year. Like I went from not knowing what I was going to do in the beginning of the year, from leaving my agent to going to nationals and not making a team, to switching agents, making the team again, flying across the world, getting a medal, and at the end of that year signing with Nike, all in the course of like a 2-week period, culminating from nationals to the end of worlds. I mean, what happened to me in that 2-week period is what happens to people over a course of a year. And it was a smack in the face, but I worked so hard for it. I knew that I deserved it, because 05, 06, 07, it was like, I kept asking, like, why is it not happening? Why is it not working? As many people do in life. And I was just like, all right, I'm going to continue to do what I've been doing, because at some point something has to shake, like something has to happen. And I just stayed with the course, and God bless me.
man, you're deserving of that one, man. You know, and we just want to say congratulations on that accomplishment and that achievement.
Thank you.
What I wanted to also ask you is on the topic of injuries. Were you ever plagued with any injury across your career? Could you talk about it?
So yeah, I've had a lot of injuries across my career. I would say in 07, we were in Athens, and that was the year that I didn't have a sponsor. I didn't have a sponsor all of the beginning to the end of 07. So I wore all black, and I was at Athens, and I messed up my heel really bad. It was like I over hurdled the hurdle, and when I came down, I stumped my heel into the ground, and I bruised my heel bone. And that injury right there, I really dealt with dealing with that like for the rest of my career. It was in that leg. I dealt with all types of bone issues. I found out that I had I had a bone density issue, and I had multiple vertical stress hairline fractures in my tibia. And eventually that ended. We'll talk about this later, but eventually that ended up in me breaking my femur later on in my career. But those injuries, and another thing I talk about, like a lot of athletes that you see, like that go through injuries, like I never really see them go through the injury. I just hear them say they got injured and then they're gone for the season, and then they come back when they're not injured. But like my whole injury situation was like it was so new, because I mean, in college, I never really got injured. I never really got injured after college into going into my professional year. Like after 07, I even this is another crazy story. It's not really an injury, but it's kind of an injury. After 07, going into 08, right before Olympic trials, I had appendicitis and had to get my appendix removed, maybe like 4 days before US trials. And I was in so much pain. I didn't know what was going on. And I got my appendix removed and went to US trials nervous, because I was worried that I wasn't ready. And I had to have a talk with my coaches. And basically they were like, why are you worried? You've been doing this. I mean, we could see if you weren't, in shape, and, we haven't been practicing, but like you ready. And I took that same mentality into 2008, and it went the same way.
Man, I just want to say something here. By profession, I'm a nurse. So when you talk about appendicitis, I can tell you, my patient, when they come in with that type of situation, they are in excruciating pain.
Yeah, it was bad.
It's like their world is about to end when you hear the scream, the groan. So I can tell you, you've been a tough competitor, man, to go through all of this. and still go back out there on the field. I know you must have been nervous going out there
Yeah,
knowing what you've been
I
through.
was, but my goal was more than my nervousness. I mean, I've been practicing longer than I had appendicitis, so it was over for that.
That could not end your career, man. Man,
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
all right, thank you for sharing that, man. Back to you, Ian.
All right, all right. So we're moving along, and we're going to talk about the 2008 Olympic trials, and I'm going to say this, guys. This again, David. Every year, I'm seeing
Every year is something, man.
I'm seeing you overcoming something because I want you
Every
guys to
year.
look at this race, and I know David celebrated across the line with his hands up. I mean, he crossed third. He was focused on his lane. He don't know what's going on. But if you watch this race, you're gonna see that another guy was in good position.
It was the current world record holder right now. It was Aries Merritt.
All right. You see the Aries are Anwar Moore, one of those guys.
Yeah. Anwar Moore fell. It was
Yeah.
and the thing is this, Anwar Moore was like one of my best friends in track and field.
Yeah.
And when he fell, in order for me to get my berth, he had to lose his dream.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was such an awkward feeling. Like, of course I was ecstatic, but I had to console him because it was like, I mean, you know what I'm saying? I ran against him for years and he was so willing. I mean, he was one of the only people who was able to combat Davon Robles, and he was just an awesome hurdler. So for him not to be on the team with me and him not go, period, it was like, oh man. And in the fashion that he fell, because I mean, he had already made the team. What happened to him, I've never seen happen to anyone else. So it was unfortunate.
Yeah, yeah. So we're gonna show a clip of that that race. Which I said I thought that this was again this was for you, David. I mean, you did not disappoint with what you do, but we just want to go back to see how this journey started. That it's never easy, pretty much, never.
Because even though Anwar Moore fell in lane 8 or 9, Aries Merritt was right where I was. So I just had felt like I was slightly ahead of him.
Oliver joins him now. Anwar Moore continuing with Oliver and Trammell at the line. Oliver with a lead. I believe beat Terrence Trammell. David Oliver, who has looked so good here in Eugene, 12.95 with David.
12.95.
Redemption for him. He said he was so broke he used to survive rice and pan mix in 05 and 06. And what redemption? His mother's career ended in 1982 when he was born. She, as I said, and Otto, that's Anwar Moore on the track, who was actually third coming off the last hurdle, had a show to Beijing and fell. And they don't call them the trial.
They don't call it the trials for nothing. Anything happens at the trials, man. It was, man. But again, something happens every year. So another reason why I have problems with getting respect from I wouldn't say, well, maybe I guess meat promoters and all that would be because they don't think that what I've done is legitimate. It's always been because of a fluke or something, like Dominic Arnold actually getting the spot, but then me having to fly up and getting it at the last moment, or Anwar Moore falling at the last minute and me actually making the team at the last minute. I was always feeling all my situations have never been I was the number one in the beginning of the year or number two and then prove myself. That I was always kind of never could get it together in the beginning of the year, but when the time counted though, I was there. When it was time to show who was made out of those rounds that we had to run, because I'll tell you another thing. The rounds are made to weed out the people who cannot run rounds. And another runner who's an amazing runner who also ran 13:05, Dexter Falk. I remember in 08 or 09 in the trials, Dexter ran 13:0 three times. No, he ran 13:0 two times, the first race and the second race. He ran those races so fast that when it came to his last race, he had no more energy. Like, to run 13:0 three times in a row, I mean, it can be done, but I mean, and he just missed making the team. And you know, like they said, like, it making the U.S. team is making a world championship. I mean, it's competing at an Olympics already. You're taking the top 3 of the top 10 athletes in the world that could very well have the top 10 best marks. So at that point, it's like, if you made the team, you should be confident to know that everything you went to get on that team, you're right there where the medals are. And that's confident enough. Like, America is beastie in the sprints and the hurdles, 400 and short hurdles. So,
yeah. So guys, we just want to say, man, well, all I could say is congratulations in that race, because look, I'm not going to add anything or take anything. Let, we have the trials, as you know, and the trials select the team. The top 3 go. The herders. It's a reason why they're on the track. There's a reason that we got to go over them. And they're part of the race. So, it just comes with the territory. So now that, so 2008, now you made it to Beijing. So now you're running, you're running, and, you're looking forward for this Olympics. So the other story that intrigued me, so everybody back home was going crazy because, most people in the U.S., when it comes down to Olympics, they start watching track. They come around doing the Olympic year, and they'll be like, yeah, obviously start showing on TV a lot more than everybody. So this big thing happened. So now I came across the fact, I know how it is, because when you go into the Olympics, you want your family to be there, everybody that can be there. And I know, as I said at the time, that one of your biggest supporter, your mom, she wanted to come across in Beijing, and I know that meant a lot for you. So, and I don't know if she was at the Olympic trials, but just bring us back to the Olympic trials. Just tell us.
No, get that.
Yeah. Now you can bring. Look, we have a special guest every
we
week.
have a pet week been going on in the last 4 shows.
She's not happy right now. So.
We're taking all the time. We think we have something going on in it. Yeah, we gotta have a pet show.
Yeah. It's definitely becoming a team right now. Yeah. So
sorry about that.
Yeah.
It's all good, man. We've been having pet show lately. The last 3 shows, Ian Pet was the last one to came on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got
Pending.
two. We got 2 cats. Now we got 2 dogs. Yeah. Yeah. So what I want you to share with us, just I said, we know it's been over 12 years. Just bring us back to that moment when you cross the finishing line, because you actually raise your hand the moment you cross the line.
Yeah.
I know that got to be one of the happiest moments in your career, knowing that you qualified for the Olympics. Just give us what you could remember. How is the feeling? What could you compare that to? What's the experience like? And just tell us, and what it mean to you to this day today.
Okay. Can you hear me? Because I'm getting a feedback a little bit on your side. Can y'all hear me good?
Yeah.
I'm hearing you.
Okay. So that experience was, man, I can't even explain it. It was like one of the best experiences in the world. You focus all your time on the track, and you practice every day. You're taking your body to the extreme, and all for 13 seconds and hopefully sub 13 seconds. And people don't understand the years and months and years and time and you throwing up and your body's going through all these transformations, all for these hundreds of a second that you can win and lose these races by. So when I won that, when I knew that I actually, or felt like I actually crossed that line and made that team, it was like I proved myself again, you know, because it's so hard to, like, it's so, especially as a hurdler. Hurdlers, if you can continue your greatness as a hurdler for more than 2 or 3 years, you've done a good job, because we're so dominant. The young hurdlers are coming after the old hurdlers. So if you can stay dominant for a period of time, I mean, you solidified yourself. So for me, it was saying, yes, I made the team again. And as soon as I got off the track, once I found out that I made the team, because it took a minute, my coach cussed me out. He said, "Don't you ever run over the line like that," because I could have lost. I mean, when you look how close that was, if you look at the photo finish of me crossing the line with my hands up, literally Aries Mare was at the line at the same time. I mean, I probably beat him by a thousandth of a second. I mean, it was that close. But for me, I just felt like I knew that I had made the team, which, you know, you're supposed to run through the line and stay focused until you actually cross the line. So that was a no-no, but it was a moment for me that was like, you know, it's burnt into my mind, because I actually did make the team. And now I'm on the second team, and here we go. You know, it's time to go to Japan. I mean, it's time to go to Beijing, China.
All right. So, you know, we're going to talk about the whole Olympic experience, but I just want to show you one of your fans, man, that just would have done anything to come to watch you run. You know, and I just want to bring you back with another clipping from real quick here. Give me a second. It's coming up right here. Yeah. So let's get the play button right now.
Mission accomplished.
Over $3,000 last night.
She crossed the final, and now she has enough money to go halfway around the world. Cynthia Bate is headed to Beijing. Here's the ticket, and today, finally, a visa with her name on it issued by the Chinese government. With all this in hand, she is good to go.
I was on mission, not just me, Michelle, but all the people that were working with me. I had to keep going so I can make sure that I would be my.
David Payne runs the 110-meter hurdles just before midnight Saturday, our time, and he came confident and comfort that mom's a quick glance away.
He knows I'm coming. He's excited. I guess we both knew within ourselves that it would happen.
Cynthia leaves for China tomorrow morning wearing U.S. Olympic pride on her fingertips, with a lot of love in her heart for those who helped out.
When I come back, we plan on throwing a great big celebration to have all of you come back so we could thank you and let you know how much we appreciate you from the bottom of our heart. I thank you.
And Cynthia leaves from the interview.
Oh, Mom Dukes.
All right, Ian. I'm just gonna turn it over to Ian. Let Ian answer this question, because you know he's the family man. You know, I get back to the track.
Man, David, I'm looking at mommy, man. It seemed like mommy was even happier than you are, man.
She was. I'm telling you, man. Like, my mom has been my biggest supporter, and like I said, we're Christians. My mom used to tell me all the time. Like, I promise you, this is a true story. If you were to ask her, my mom used to tell me all the time when I was in high school. She said, "You're gonna be an Olympic medalist." She would tell me that. So she sowed that seed to me early on, and that was something that just happened because I just stayed so focused on what I was able to find that I did so well, which was a blessing, because most people don't actually find what they do that well at such a young age. So that was what probably kept me out of trouble. That was what, you know, kept me motivated, knowing that, you know, this was her dream and her dream for me as well. So it became like one super dream.
Hey, David, as a child growing up, I would just like you to tell the audience what mommy was like to you, what she meant to you up to today's day.
Right. So she basically raised me by herself. I did have a stepfather till I was like 11 or 12. But before that, my mom was um, uh, not with my biological father. So she basically raised me and my sister, and she was my mother and my father. And she did an amazing job. She kept me humble, and she kept me with a Christian background, and basically fulfilled me with integrity. And I think all those things were what made me be such a great athlete. And just like people, like I love great people who are humble, like LeBron James. He's just like, you can talk to him. Like, I've met LeBron, I've met Serena Williams, I've met all these great people. Like, even I love tennis, so I met like Lindsay Davenport and James Blake, and I just love to talk to people who are great and they can sit down and talk to you. Like, they're not big enough to talk to you and tell you about their experiences. So I think she's helped instill that humility in me, and I just relate. It's so easy for me to relate to younger kids and people who aren't the best, especially when they hear my story, because I'm able to break it down to them or just talk to them like a normal person, but be able to talk to them about the great things that I've done. So I appreciate that. I mean, she's just part of the reason why I believe I'm such a great person and such a great athlete.
And we're proud of your mother. We appreciate everything that you have done, and we're happy that you were able to make her dream come true in terms of going after the Olympic there. And question, since we are on the family also, I just want to know, are you a father as yet? And if you are, could you tell us about your kid or kids?
Yeah. So I am a father. I have a 11-year-old daughter. Me and her mother are not together. I still love her mother to death. Her mother actually ran the hurdles in college, so we birthed a little hurdler. We both ran the 110 and the 400-meter hurdles. And we both got coached for a period of time by the same coach who coached me to the 2009 medal that I got.
So the genetic you said had been passed on?
For sure. I mean, she when I took her to the track, she alternate legs on the hurdles. I'm like, who taught you how to do that? It took me years to learn how to alternate legs on the hurdles. And she run up to the hurdle, alternate legs, different hurdles. I'm like, oh man, you're definitely going to be a track star. She's super tall too.
What's the name should we be looking out for?
Her name is Kylie Payne.
All right, Kylie Payne, we wish you all the best, and we're looking to see as you travel along in mom and dad footstep. We're expecting greatness. Definitely you're a great mentor, man. You definitely inspire her. So we don't expect anything less than a champion in the making. So congratulations and thank you, man, for your work, what you have done. Back to you there.
All right, guys. So we're going to move along. So we're still in this dream season. It never stops. We never stop. So we're at the 2008 Olympics. This is the highest level in track and field. Before I talk about that, I want to ask you one question. I know you got the privilege to meet Kobe Bryant. If you just want to share real quick, may he rest in peace. Just want to share real quick, what was that experience like? And meeting Kobe Bryant, one of my favorite player, with a lot of people, not just me.
Yeah, he's definitely one of my favorite athletes, favorite players. I got so much respect for him, what he's done for the game, the basketball game, and the Lakers, and just his family in general. Man, it was such a tragic thing that happened, and it's unfortunate. But the time that I was able to spend with him, it was awesome. I mean, when we went to the Olympics, all of the athletes were able to actually meet the president. He came, and we all kind of just hung out and talked, and you were able to go around and take pictures with other athletes, and LeBron James and him and Carmelo Anthony and so many other athletes that I saw. I mean, it was just like, it was inspiring. But again, he was another athlete who he could come over you and talk to you and crack a joke, and you'd be like, you're Kobe Bryant. Like, that's crazy. And like, and it was just so it was just inspiring, man. And like for him to be so great and so down to earth, and just like I was in this room with him, and it was awesome. It was a great experience.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing some light on Kobe. We salute Kobe family's legacy and everything they have done for basketball. He was a perfect role model. He's inspiration for many players. That mentality, that drive and that force. It's just unbelievable. So let's go into this thing. So you're on your second U.S. team. You're going to back in the Asian country, going to China. I don't know if you have been to China before, but now you're like, man, you're not like an underdog anymore, but you're somewhat barely scraped on the team. So
Yep.
you got a lot of people that were running faster than you. So again, people was counting you out. There wasn't that there wasn't thinking that you was gonna be winning a silver medal. So
Right.
tell me how that inspire and motivate you too, knowing that people keep underestimating you.
I think I've made a career out of feeding off of haters. I mean, people root for you not to do well. I mean, even when I wouldn't say everybody roots for me not to do well. I would just say that they have someone else that they're rooting for them to do better, and I don't have a problem with that. But I eat all of that. Like I feed off of that. Like I do better when I'm the underdog. Not that I won't do good, period, but I do better when I'm the underdog. Like, oh, you don't know who I am? Well, you're about to find out. And it's really good to work off that energy for me. Also, the fact that I'm probably one of, if not the shortest American hurdler and short hurdler. I mean, outside of Michael Thomas and Joe Brown, and I don't know too many really, really short hurdlers, but me being 5'11", and I competed at like 180 pounds, competing against everyone who was like 6'3", 6'4" at 190, 200 pounds. The camera is coming over and I'm down here. It's like, you know what I'm saying? But if you knew who I was, you knew that I wasn't going to give up. I was going to get, once, if I got my foot in the door, I was going to medal. And 2008 was no different, except I would say there were a lot of great athletes who got injured or that were dropping like flies, because Terrence Trammell was not there. He got injured. I also think that I'm sorry, not Terrence Trammell. No, it was Terrence Trammell. Terrence Trammell got injured, and I was like shocked that he got injured. And then that just left me and David Oliver, and I was like, at that time, in my mind, when you go to a championship, I am competing against everybody. But at the same time, I'm competing with my guys. Like we're going in 3 deep. We're gonna get like the women's hurdles. They went and got all 3 of them got gold, silver, and bronze. That was the idea. Of course you want to get gold, but if all of us can walk out of here with a medal, we did our job. And when he got hurt, I wasn't thinking like, yeah, 1 down. I was thinking like, man, like we won less strong, which kind of took a little bit of confidence away from me, because we were still running up against people like Dayron Robles and Lu Shang and a whole bunch of other extraordinary athletes. And it wasn't hard to stay focused, but it was a focus that you have to have as a professional athlete, not to let anything bother you.
Yeah.
Just like a false start. You got to let it brush off your shoulders and let's get back to work.
All right, awesome. So before I ask any more questions, we're going to go along, and again, I'm gonna show another clip with this race. Just bring it back. Maybe we'll be able to. Maybe you will remember more stuff. Once I show you the race.
Okay.
We're going to go back here. Yeah, Beijing.
Yeah, man, that Lu Shang got injured. I mean, it was a lot of puzzle pieces that moved. And another, look, I'm telling you, Ian, every year is something, right? Because I was not picked to medal that year at all either. And as the puzzle pieces start moving around, God gave me a straight right down the middle lane, and I took it. Man, I knew I had to get out. That was the one thing I knew that I had to do, because Dayron Robles that year ran sub 13 like 7 times. And I knew that. And that year also,
Yeah.
I think my PR coming into that race was only 13:21 that year or something. And I didn't even run a great time to win second place. I think I ran like 13:17 or something like that, which is crazy because David Oliver had been running super fast that whole year. And it just was a blessing that I was able to come on a year that I was injured, because I had an injury that year. And I probably only ran like 3 or 4 races. I was able to come out of that and go to the Olympics and still get a medal. And that was insane. Like, I was super blessed to have such a small competition year and still get a medal.
Yeah. I don't know how you do it, David, but when I was looking back, I mean, you actually, I saw that one race you kind of did not start. It probably was in London or something like that. I think something, you just wasn't feeling right. Then you'd be like, man, I'm trying to get a medal at this Olympics. So you wasn't taking any chance.
Right.
And you probably went back home and trained a little bit and just get ready. But that was a blessing. Just being you see, the Olympics is the hard work that you do. Sometimes it's the work that you've been doing 5 or 10 years. You've been doing that thing. So when you get in that position, it was now for you to reward yourself. It's harder to climb to get where you need to go. But when you get there, I see that things was opening up. It was a lot of good things was happening. So my question that I want to ask is just describe what was that feeling like to win that medal, and we want to find out, where do you keep that medal right now?
So that feeling was amazing. I think the ultimate feeling was walking through underneath the stadium out into the track where 100,000 people were taking pictures, and you had on your American uniform for the opening ceremony. That right there was the moment that I lived for. That was the moment that I dreamed of. That was the moment I sweated every day and hated running track and died and threw up. And that was the moment that on the commercials you see them play and you're like, I'm going to get that moment. And when I got that moment, I knew like it's time to like it's just time to go. Like it's time to work. And I was ready because a lot of people also don't know, like, the people who you run against at the Olympics are people who you've been running against all year. Ain't nobody new on there. You've been running against some people all year. So ain't nothing to it but to do it, to get back out there and run against them, even if they beat you. And that year I knew Robles was a monster. Like I said, he ran sub 13 like 6 or 7 times. And when he gets going, it's hard to catch him if you're not with him. He's like Omar McLeod. Omar McLeod will get out on you. It's like Aries Merritt. If you're not with them, it's going to be really hard to run them down. And David Oliver was good at doing that. I mean, I've seen quite a few races where David Oliver got a bad start, and then he ran Dayron Robles down. But unfortunately, I wasn't able to do that in 08, but it was still a blessing to get second, because I still feel like there was no way that I should have beat David. I think David did the same thing that Dexter Falk did in 09. I think he ran the first 2 races too fast, because David ran like 13. He ran them really fast. He ran like 13:06. Then he came back with like 13:15. Then he came back with 13:17. I think it was something like that. And if you ever look at any of my races, I'm so gradual. I'll run a 13:5. A 13:2, a 13:1, and then a 13:0. Because what I've learned is, like, you put yourself in a good position, but you try to give just enough so that you make it to the next round, so that you're saving that energy. I mean, if you're an elite athlete, you know where those levels are. But I wanted to make sure that I saved the best for last.
Yeah. Well, as I said, man, you should teach a class, and how to run your best, how to distribute your energy, how to just able to say, you know what, this is what you already. It's like you know where you're going, and you got to be disciplined, because you could go out there excited. I know the semifinal is very tough too, because you can't play around in the semifinal.
Semifinals is the final. That's my mentality. You don't play. Right. You run that semifinals like a final so that you can solidify your finals race. Now you in the finals, and you just let that go because you're an Olympian at that point. You're in the finals, and you've done everything you can do. So obviously you're in the finals. You've been doing what you're supposed to. Just continue to do that, and now you gung ho. Do what you do the best you can do it, and you surprise yourself. But also you said, where do I keep my gold medal? So right now it's in this plaque right here. I mean my silver medal. It's in this plaque right here that I keep all my medals in these plaques. But before it was in a safety deposit box that I used to have, and then I started. Me and my fellow Olympian Mary Weinberg, who also was from Cincinnati and went to University of Cincinnati and was on the team with me. We've had track camps, and we've talked to many schools and a lot of running groups, and we took our medals around, and we still do. So I try to keep motivating the kids, and so it doesn't really, it's out all the time. I mean, I show so many people, but for a while when I was competing, it was in a safety deposit box, and it was not getting any light. So I had to do it some justice. I worked hard for it, so it should see a lot of hands.
Yeah. Well, definitely, man. And I know that even what you and Mary are doing about giving back, just inspiring kids in Cincinnati, in the whole region, you guys are a living testimony for for telling kids that, look, you could inspire kids to say, look, guys, I wasn't even running when I was 14. I mean, I didn't even get a track scholarship.
Right.
Look,
that makes them listen. That makes them sit up. When I was coaching at the University of Xavier, there was so many kids that were sitting back in their seats not listening. Then when they heard that I walked on, they were like, "Oh, wait a minute, that can happen. We can do that." Like, whole mentality changed.
Yeah. So one more question before I get you over to Ian. So you guys got a legacy going on at in the University of Cincinnati. I did not know that Lewis Johnson was a Bearcat.
Lewis Johnson is a Bearcat. Lewis Johnson has been with me my whole career. Every time, honestly, another reason why I fought to get in the finals is because I knew I was going to get camera time with Lewis. I knew I was going to get to talk to him. I knew I was going to get to say whatever I wanted. For me, that was slightly a bit of motivation. Yeah. I was going to get to say whatever message that I had. I owned and deserved that right to say 2 seconds of whatever I wanted.
Yeah.
And he always made it fun and fantastic. And he taught me a lot, and he taught me about representing myself, telling my story, branding myself. And of course, he came from Cincinnati. You know how the Bearcats do it.
Yeah, man, that got to be awesome. And I know when you guys came back from the Olympics, I know probably they, just tell us before I get another question. Just tell us, what was that reception like? Because I know they have hosted a big game. You, Mary Weinberg, Lewis Johnson, all over 60,000 people watching you guys in the football game. Just how did that make you feel, and what does that mean to you? Just it's all, I know it's, those moments are so, there's like, they always live with you, but just share with the viewers the experience, the feeling that you have, when you've done something and you came back, and the celebration, the reception. So what did they actually did for you?
So as soon as I came home, and another thing is, like, the Americans that were over there competing, like, we didn't really get to see firsthand the celebrations that they had for the people who actually medaled. So when I came back, it was amazing. I mean, there was so many people at the airport waiting for me with balloons and signs. And then once I got home, my neighborhood and city, they gave me the key to the city. They had a parade where I forgot what it's called, but I basically led the parade. I basically had a day put in my name, David Payne Day, which is my birthday, okay. And which is July 24th, and it continues. Little did I know, later on they were going to name a park after me in Wyoming, which is amazing. I mean, people don't get stuff like that until they're no longer here. So to have my daughter be able to come to that park, and she was able to see it and sees it all the time, and it's just, I never thought that these things could happen to a young man who almost didn't have the opportunity many times. to do these things and be standing and sitting around such great athletes and people, man. It's like, it literally is true when people say anything is possible, and like our lives, and like it takes for you to stop and think about what's actually happening for you to realize the testimony that you have in your life. Because I mean, I've been through so much. Like we'll talk about it here soon, but we'll see like how soon my career took a turn for the left. Even though it was such a bad thing that happened, in reality, it was such a positive thing that happened.
Yeah. We still got the 09 season to talk about. Over to you, Ian.
Well, David, as I listen to you, you're a great motivational person. But talking to the youths, what does it take to be an Olympian?
They ask that question a lot. I would say, man, it's not one thing. It's a what is the word for it? It's a mentality. It's a you're born with it. Like, I mean, you either have it or you don't. And I'm not going to say you can't become an Olympian later on in your career, because you can. But once you know that that's what you want, you have to know that there is no second guessing it, and you're going to do whatever you have to do in order to make that happen. And that's the integrity that majority of Olympians that I know have, like, and doing it the right way. Like, you're going to work hard. You're going to work hard for years. Because I don't know anybody outside of Allison Felix. Even Allison Felix and Usain Bolt weren't the best when they first started. They were the young ones in the group. I mean, I remember coming back from a meet, and I played cards with Usain Bolt, Wallace Spearman, Justin Gatlin, Tyson Gay, Carmelita Jeter. We all out. Shelly Ann Fraser, we're out there. We're just all chilling. This is before any of them. And all of them are superstars now. And it's like, wow. And they're all the same. They're all humble. They're all great athletes. So that's my message.
Hey, David, Ian, let me rephrase that question. David, what is it like to be a Team USA Olympian, the hardest team to make in the world?
Man, that honestly, like you said, that's the hardest team to make. That is literally the hardest team to make. That's everything. Man. That's what you fight for. And the crazy thing is, after you do that, you got to fight again. You got to go run rounds again. You don't like your time. And then the crazy thing is this. Perfect example. That scenario happens all the time, right? You can be number one in the world. You could be running the fastest times in the world. I forgot what her name is. She is the current female world record holder in the 110-meter hurdles.
That's Kenny Harris. That's
Kenny Harrison, who clearly she was the best hurdler that year as far as time, and then she goes and doesn't make the Olympic team. Now, I know that ate her up inside because she missed out on that moment. She'd been training for years. She knew already and told the world from her running so fast and so many times that she deserved to make that team, but she didn't make that team.
Yeah.
Now, the girls who went, they showed out. Every single last one of them got a medal. Christy Caslin, Queen Harrison, and Nia Ali showed out. But you don't think that she was upset? Came back that same year, broke the world record. So to me, to make that team and be on a team with people who every single person deserves it. You may not be the best that day, but if you're up there competing with us, and like I said, there's no new faces. Joe Schmo's not coming to run at the Olympic trials this year if he ain't been running the last 5 years. Like, where you come from? The Olympic mentality is exactly that. It's a mentality that you have. You're born with it.
Great. All right. So about the Olympic, going to the Olympic, and I know it's everybody's dream. But when you get to the Olympic, are you able, with you being focused on yourself and running that race, your best race, are you guys able to watch any other athlete compete and celebrate in their victory? Or
Yeah, for sure. I mean, well, if it's before your race within the 2 hours of running, probably not. because you're focused on, unless there's a TV back there where we're warming up or whatever, but like probably not, because those 2 hours we're focused on what we got to do. But after we run, yeah, there's athletes everywhere just mingling, watching their people who they train with, their friends from other countries, because a lot of the athletes who are from other countries are American citizens going to college at American schools. And then when it's time for a world championship, you're like, oh, I didn't know you were Jamaican, or I didn't know you were Dominican. And you still got to respect that, because they was either your teammate or somebody who was just as good or beating you at NCAAs or something like that. So
Okay. So you may watch a few, but not really like just there to kick back like mommy. Mommy would have enjoyed most of it, right?
right.
All right, back to you, Ian.
All right, awesome, man. So now, Ian, I'm gonna tell you about this guy. I mean, we're still in the dream right now.
I'm learning
So
a lot, man.
you think that he winning the Olympic now, but it's gonna get even better. So we move on to the 2009 season. Guess what happened? He's the U.S. champion. Yeah, so now he finally being the national champion. He crossed that finishing line. There was no guess. There's no if or what. There's no question to figure out who's going to represent Team USA. So David, you got to be a veteran now. So now you go and you win the U.S. championship, going for another world championship. Now, tell us the difference now going into that championship where you have 2 medals compared to the other championship where you didn't even know you was like underdog going in. How was that difference now for 2009?
The difference is I went in there super confident. Like, I went in there looking at Terrence Trammell like, you're going to have to steal this one from me, because I'm coming to get it. Because now I know Terrence is going to get out like blistering, and I can't worry about that. I spent 3 years, worrying about the people next to me and how fast they are and all the things that they do better than me. And at this point, it's like, no, I'm the one that's coming in here, going to kill it. Because, and like I said, 2007, 2008 were the culmination of 2009, because I was working out. I was doing everything I needed to do. So it's like when you show up knowing that you're ready, there's nothing that you're worried about. But when you show up and you're not prepared, then you have worry. So I was never really worried about any of that. And I was so excited to be there. Like, I was the most happy I ever been at a championship. I was like, ain't no more flukes now. I'm coming to win this. And when I won, I was so excited. I was like, this basically shows everything that happened to me was supposed to happen. None of this was by chance. You know what I'm saying? Even though I say, like, God put these situations here, the irony of the situation is it was all meant to happen. So
yeah. So so we got past the U.S. championship. Now we going back to another world championship. Going down to Berlin. And I said, I know you was pretty confident knowing you have a good shot of winning a medal in Berlin. So that race again, it was very close. This race was so close that it took a minute before
it definitely took a minute. It definitely took a minute, and I wanted to go protest a couple times because my teammate, they kept it's so weird. Me and Terrence, for the last 2 years, kept running the exact same times. So in like I believe 2008, we ran the same time. 2009 at US Nationals, we ran the same time, even though I beat him. And then come back to run at Olympics, or in 2009, and we run the same time, but they give it to him. So it was like a lot of races come down to like who just took that last step better, because you got to be on your game, and that's crazy. It's like you're going to go run a race that takes 13 seconds, and the difference is who took the last step over the line better, because the person is right there with you. So tight races, man, tight races. But it definitely took at least 15 minutes for us to figure it out. And like I said, you could see from the different angles that they showed, it was anybody's race. All of our heads are exactly at the same place. All of our shoulders are down. And that's a race right there. We in the same place in the beginning than we was at the end. So we're just great competitors. We made history.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So definitely, I definitely want to try and get that race up. But obviously, you finished third.
I finished
Again,
third.
you're coming home with more hardware. I mean, so now your collection is adding up. I mean, you're talking about Pan American World Championship. You're talking about winning the U.S. Championship. So you're going on 5 medals. I mean, you're talking about a whole lot of other medals that you win on the circuit. So your ultimate thing, you win another medal. You're going in. So tell us a little bit about '09 season. What do you remember? What you end up ranking overall? What was your highest ranking that you was able to accomplish? If you can.
I can't remember honestly. I
Okay.
think it was second, maybe third. I think at one point I was top 3 in the world for the course of like 2 or 3 years. And it could have been 07, 08, 09. I could have been ranked 4th, but I do remember I did have a second. I was ranked second for a minute, and then you know how they move because people run different times and it bumps you out and stuff. So, but I can't quite remember. It's been a while.
Okay. All right. No worries. No worries. So before we move on, as I said, I want to show a real quick of that. I want to show a real quick clipping of that race because every year it's funny in the herders, Ian. Every year too, somebody else comes up.
It's true.
So this kid that won the herders, so he now is another new kid on the block. He's coming from, he was the junior college champion, coming on the scene from Barbados. But that was a whole nother story. But I want to just show that race if we can get right here. Should be coming up now. I'm gonna show it real quick.
Sitten tulee Ryan Bradwaite, armannus sekä Pekingin että Osakasta välieristä maansa ennätyksen 13.8. Onko hän se, joka viekin yllättäen koko potin? Vai Terence Trammell? 2 kertaa Olympia 2. 2 kertaa MM-kisojen 2. Kaikkien aikojen tilastoyhdys. Yhdessä David Paynen kanssa 3. paikalla ajalla 13.12 maailman tilastossa. Suurvoitto puuttuu, mitaleja loistavia suorituksia arvokisoista riittää.
Maurice Wignall.
Yhdysvaltalaisten kunnia, siitä kai tässä on suurimmalta osin kysymys.
Trammell kompuroi Pekingissä. Nyt
All right, try to get up a little bit.
Sitten vielä pistetään siirrot syrjään, koska nyt pelkästään ja ainoastaan siihen, että kantaa kaatuu, niin mies tulee kovaa.
Payne in lane 3 there.
Payne, Bradwaite, Trammell, Sharman, Svoboda, Binnall, siitä vastaan liikkeelle. Tasainen startti, keskellä lähtee hyvin David Payne. Kaikkein parhaiten tulee Payne, johtaa tällä hetkellä kilpailua selvästi. Asemalla tulee Bradwaite, Trammell tulee hyvin. Tulee Sharman voittoon, Trammell nousee viimeisellä käynteen. Meneekö voittoon asti koollaan kamppailu? Ja taitaa olla niitä, David Payne vie voiton. David Payne heittäytyy loistavasti ja menee maalikameran kuvaksi. Siinä on David Payne, Ryan Bradwaite ja Terence Trammell kaikki samassa nipussa. Näyttistä Payne tulee kaikkein parhaiten viimeis ja heittäytyisi voittoon 13.12. Kaikki ovat silloin.
Man, I got out. That was so good. I shocked myself. And the crazy thing is, like, I was so upset when I watched the replay because when they said that I got 3rd, I said I at least know I got 2nd. When I saw the race, Terrence was literally where I was at on the opposite side, and I had no clue. I didn't see Terrence out of my eye at all. So to get down there and to realize he did just as good or better than me, I was so upset because I was so tired of I wasn't even mad about not getting 1st as much as I was mad about constantly going back and forth with Terence Trammell that year. I think I wanted to more so prove that I wanted to run a faster time. I wanted to run sub 13. And I just wanted to prove that I could be one of the greatest American hurdlers that ever ran, which is really kind of hard to do without running sub 13 in my eyes. But yeah, Ryan Brathwaite, man, that year he was on fire. I mean, I think he was young too, but I have to give him credit where credit's due, because he came in smoking, and I mean, it was great competition. I mean, we just wrote each other today online. I was like, man, we had such a great race. It was we kept each other going, man. Like we kept each other competing against each other to the levels that created records. So
awesome.
Great.
Well, again, we just want to congratulate you, man. I know you didn't run 12 seconds, 12:8, 12:7, but in track and field, all it takes was a little bit of wind at any given time. I mean, that could change real quick. But what you have accomplished, I mean, you got guys that win world record or run world record that don't have a medal. So what you have accomplished, winning 4 medals for Team USA in 3 years, that's really, and I said that's just the dream season to win 3 medals. I mean, you can't ask for any better plan than that.
Right.
So, before I move along, any thoughts on those, Ian? That championship? Any questions?
Only thing I'd probably ask is that, after training all this time, it comes down to 13 seconds between the start and the finish line. Could you tell us what happened in that 13 seconds?
No. I mean, I can't tell you how many times right after the race, my coach, all of them, Coach Schneer, Coach Brewer, Coach Hahn, all of the coaches, Coach Pierce, just every single person. And I would be like, hold on, you got to come back to me in a second, because I can't remember exactly what happened. And then 15 minutes later, I'm walking up to him like, yeah, I smacked Hurdle 5. But in the midst of it, it happens so fast, you can't even realize what's going on. Now, when you start being able to realize, like, instantly, oh yeah, I came off a Hurdle 7 and I was like leaning forward too much or whatever. Now you're sinking. Now you're locked in. You know what's going on instantly. But oftentimes it took a minute to actually even realize what you did. It happened so fast, But yeah, the word to that is no, really. But after a while, yeah. I mean, the race is 13 seconds.
All right. Well, you may have to forgive me here, but earlier I know you talk about you're a good 400 hurdler, and here we know you're a champion athlete when it comes on to the 110.
Mm-hmm.
How much 4 hurdle have you done? Why did you take this very serious, given your top speed?
When I was in college, we were in Conference USA, and I had this rivalry with this guy named Andrew Carruthers from Houston. Houston always keeps sprinters and hurdlers. But I had this rivalry with Andrew Carruthers. He won conference the year before, and that year he did some really disrespectful. He beat everybody at the race in the semifinals, and turned around and stood like this as we came, and he waited for us to come in.
Wow.
Like doing this, right? So I was like, oh, no, you're not about to get away with that. So that year, I actually beat him. We also went back and forth in the 110 hurdles, and I was better in the 110s, and he was better in the 400. But that year, I actually became Conference USA champion in the 110 hurdles and the 400 hurdles. And I've always just had that mentality of a 400 hurdle runner. I've trained with 400 hurdlers all my life. And in fact, I was going to run the 400 hurdles over the 110 hurdles until my coach basically was like, listen, you can be a good hurdler, 400 hurdler, or a 110 hurdler, or you can decide which one you want to run and be an amazing one of the other. And of course, I chose 110. Who wants to run 400? Nobody runs no 400.
Yeah.
Why did you run the 400? Yeah.
But my PR in the 400 hurdles is like 49.50 or 49.40. So it's not great, but it's respectable. I mean, once you go below 50 point, I feel like, I mean, you're on your way. So,
well, the history speaks for itself. Most of the good hurdlers right now, they're former 400 hurdler. Typically, you typically do both. As I said, the world record holder, Kenny Harrison, she is a 53, 54. Yeah, I mean, she could be very good in the 400. But what happened, Ian, over that that strength work that you do over a period of time, when you start doing speed, you're gonna always have that in you. You're gonna be like, man, I used to go around the track, so you see how David talked about running these rounds. That's where what a true 100-meter hurdler that just like Terrence Trammell. He's I mean, the kid runs 6:49 or whatever for the 60. I might be wrong, but I'm just saying that
He runs
I believe, I believe he won the U.S. Indoor Championship. So
he did.
All right. So the speed that he has, if he's able to use that speed between the hurdles, which is hard because the herd is at the same spot, they don't move. You could go as fast as you want. So so the thing about it is, it's a balanced race. It's not about your raw speed. It's about able to do a rhythm, and it's a whole lot of thing. I mean, just I could tell you that hurdlers are one of the most dynamic athletes on the planet because we're able to multitask, do different things. So I mean, I'm gonna be a little biased and say the 4 hurdles is a bit tougher.
Tell an 800 runner that.
Than the one thing, yeah. Well, I have these conversations all the time. You got guys that run this 3,000 steeplechase think that it's tougher than the 4 hurdles. But I'm just telling you, when I talk about 4 hurdles, I'm not just talking about the race itself, but there's some diverse athlete. I mean, most you got former decathlon that pretty much you seem like you could have been a good decathlon.
Man, I had a teammate who was an amazing decathlete. Actually, is Mary Weinberg's husband. His name's Chris Weinberg, and he was an amazing decathlete. And heck no, because it's like it's like you got to be great. You got to be great at almost all of the events, and all of the events. If you were running against the people who were great, they're monstrous. Like every single event that you have to do for the decathlon, the people who are doing them individually are monsters. So I don't think I could.
Well, for what you've done in the 110 hurdles, we're not surprised. I believe that if somebody have challenged you and say, look, man, this is what I want you to do, you'll find a way to get it done. But we're going to move along. So great world championship, finished off there 2009. So we want to move on to 2010, which I'm a little surprised to see that you're coming off your best year in 2009. So you was able to only run 13:24.
Yeah.
Can you bring us back and just what was the difference in 2010? What to change? Did it change coach? Did you were you racing less? Do you remember exactly? If you should look back on it now, I know at the time it's hard.
I know exactly what was going on. I definitely did switch coaches. I moved from Cincinnati, Ohio, down to Claremont, Florida, where I started training at the Olympic training facility. And what happened was, so a lot of people might not know this either, but the Olympic and World Championship year goes World Championship year, Olympic year, nothing. So it gives athletes time to recuperate. There is a no year. There is a no championship year. And that year was 2010. Okay. And so my body started to fall apart after continuously going 07, 08, 09. And I constantly was trying to continue to hold those top spots, but my body started to crumble. I started to get, like I said, vertical stress fractures in my tibia. I started realizing I started to have like aches in my femurs. But at the same time, there weren't any different aches that I wasn't already feeling from the normal, aches and pains that we feel as athletes. And one time I remember, like, that's why I really, really don't really like the hustle and bustle of, being an elite athlete. I hated the travel. I hated sitting in the like they don't know these grueling parts. I sat in the airport many times for 10 hours. Not because my agent didn't do a good job, but those were the connections that you had to do when you get over in Zurich and Amsterdam and Switzerland, if you're getting the last flight in and all that. And I was sleeping. I mean, you know, how many hotels have you seen? How many insides of hotel rooms have you seen in the course of 10 years? I mean, in 1 week, I could see 3 or 4 hotel rooms. And so it's just, you just never got used to like never laying in your own bed for a very long time. And it just 10 became like a year where it was like, I knew I needed to like pull back, but you know, coming off of those 3 years of winning medals and the money was good and I was healthy, and to see things start to go downhill, I didn't want to stop running because I wanted to continue all the greatness that I had achieved. But I didn't realize that like you don't have a choice. Like your body will shut down itself. And that's initially what started happening. I started getting stress fractures everywhere. So that year I went down to train with Dennis Mitchell and his Nike camp at Claremont. I was down there with Justin Gatlin and Kelly Wells, and Lance Brahman was on the other side with his Adidas camp with Tyson Gay and all the people over there. And I trained the whole season with Dennis. He gave great workouts. And the first week of the competition season, I got a stress fracture. And I was extremely disappointed because I was like, how does that happen? Like I worked out hard. I had no problems during the whole season. And this is another thing that athletes go through that we really don't talk about, like dealing with not being able to be great anymore. That's really hard to deal with, especially if you were used to being great or you made your way up to being great. And that's really hard to deal with, but I definitely had a problem with that. After 2010 was over with, I found myself trying to find a group that I could belong to, because after I got injured, I was so upset. I didn't feel like I belonged there no more. So I went from there. I went to Houston. I was training at the University of Houston. I left Houston and I went back to Cincinnati, Ohio. In that time, you know, went from 2010 back to now we're back in, because I didn't really do anything. I didn't do a lot in 2011 either. I changed agents. I probably ran like 13.3 was my best time at that year. I changed agents, and it was a lot of me trying to figure out where I belong in the middle to latter part of my career. And it was just like, you know, just trying to figure out how my body is going to heal and get back to being great again. But I needed to calm down. I needed to settle down and give my body that rest. And I honestly, I didn't. And that's when 2013 happened. But also 2012, I started having injuries. I had a back injury in 2012, and I went like me and David Oliver were definitely supposed to make the team. We both were being coached by Brooks Johnson. There was nothing you can tell me that would say I wasn't gonna make the team. And that day, I pulled my back muscle, and I still went and got out in the blocks. Like people didn't know, and when I was in the blocks, I had a back injury. Like I couldn't even and to be down in the blocks at that exact angle where it was excruciating. Like, and I still jumped out of the blocks and everything because something said like maybe you could still run or whatever. But it was such a bad feeling to like not be able to compete, knowing you were really injured, but knowing you should have been able to compete. And so my injuries just start piling up on each other, and 1 or 2 weeks turned into a month, turned into like now I'm just sitting out. Like, dang, that's messed up. Like, so it really became, you have to get yourself together. You have to get your body and your mind together so that you can come back and be physically, your mental could be where your physical is, and vice versa. And that's what we came to. I was disappointed in those years, especially 2012, because that could have been another Olympic opportunity for me. And you know, we're always in a hunt for hardware, and I was really disappointed. And 2013 was the same thing. I ended up breaking my femur at a track meet in Lausanne, Switzerland. I didn't break it running the hurdles. I broke it running, diving into the finish line, hyperextending my leg, trying to reach out further than someone else, and my leg locked, and all the force running forward went backward, and my femur snapped in half. And that's an injury that I've never even seen before in a track and field athlete. I mean, nobody. That's the last thing I thought was going to happen that day. Getting ready, putting my uniform on, saying everything, and it was a surreal moment. I was calling my friends, like they're thinking probably I'm going to tell them like I won the race, and I'm calling over in Switzerland talking about I broke my femur, and everybody was just silent after everyone. It was just like what how does that happen? And it was just like, man, my whole world stopped, my whole life stopped. That was so hard to deal with, and I think that made me even stronger. Like, going through like that day that I broke my leg, they had to do surgery, and I broke my femur. It wasn't compounded, didn't come out of the skin, but my leg swelled up twice the size of the normal one because all the blood, and I really could have died. It could have punctured my main artery in my leg, and I really it could have been a lot worse than it was. But at that time, I mean, it was worse for me, and my career stopped. And I sat in a hotel room and looked out a window for months. I was in Switzerland, so I had to learn a little French, and I was alone. I did have an angel with me. Her name was Muriel. She actually lived in Switzerland. We still talk to this day. The nurses, they basically nursed me back to health. I mean, I broke my femur. It happened was walking the next day. And I praise God that I had broke my femur in Switzerland because I was headed to Budapest next. And if I broke my leg there, I'm sure that the doctors and the surgery wouldn't have been A1 like it was in Switzerland, who probably has the best healthcare in the United States, probably. But it just motivated me. I was at first, of course, I took a turn for the worse. I was depressed but there's always something in me that turns that negative into a positive. Like, no, I'm not gonna let this stop me. Even before I went to have the surgery, I was getting rolled out, and people were like, "Are you okay?" At that point, they didn't even know that I broke my femur. In fact, I don't ever remember seeing USATF reporting that their 3-time medalist, the U.S. champion, broke his femur. It was just silent. It was like no one said nothing. Then when I came back, like there was agents that dropped me. I never got to talk to them again because, of course, no one thought I was gonna come back. And the comeback story isn't, oh, I came back and medaled again. The comeback story is just that I came back and ran again. I mean, people who break their femurs don't even ever walk normally again. And I came back and made the Olympic trials again, and went overseas and ran meets again. I ran 1349 or 1350, which that's amazing. Obviously, it wasn't the 13.0 that I was wanting, but it filled my heart with joy to know that like I did this and came back and did it again. And I was like, I have nothing else to prove to no one else. I have a daughter that's going to look at this and going to be like, "Oh, Dad, you did awesome. You came back after breaking your leg and you still ran." And after that fulfilled me. That made me want to turn around and start teaching other kids how to do what I've accomplished. And in my mind, I accomplished it twice. Like, I didn't accomplish winning a medal twice, but I've accomplished overcoming my obstacles. Like, again, taking that physical hurdle and still jumping those barriers in the real world and in your real life situation. So I try to take that and use that. But yeah, those last couple of years turned I wouldn't say they went downhill, but I didn't take care of my body like I wanted, and I went from group to group. But at the same time, I never lost faith. I never stopped training. I mean, I came back from a femur break. So right now I have a titanium rod in my right femur. I've got 7 screws in my hip and my knee, and I'm still out doing backflips. I still go and do morning workouts with my post-collegiate group in the mornings. I mean, you can't stop me until I'm stopped. I mean, that's the mentality.
Well, David, it's we're happy for you to just share. I know that was a low point in your career. I know we started out okay, then we went up, and then we kind of back to okay. But the good thing that I like about your story is you know, it's your return, you know, your perseverance. You was fighting a whole nother medal. You actually won yourself a gold medal that nobody knows about. Able to come back to run after the injury that you sustained. You know, that's is why you're here now, because that was able to get you back on track to say, you know what, I know this has happened to me. You have cut my career a little bit, slow me down, but the fact that you was able to come back and qualify for the 2016, you was back at the 2016 Olympic trials, and I know a lot of people probably didn't know your story during that look. You know, they're probably saying, "Oh, David, new generation coming up," but you was actually running for yourself. Then to say, you know what, I'm gonna return. I'm gonna overcome this. I'm gonna get back and run. So that's to me again another medal, personal victory, of perseverance, and we thank you again. That's another chapter of you know the David Clutch Payne story. That people that watching this would because people might want to find out. Oh, I wonder what happened. Everybody might have their own version of what happened, but I'm glad you're clearing the air. I mean, you probably made some, do a couple things. Yeah, you probably would have done a couple things different if in terms of you know, you know, um, in terms of some of the just trying to find a stable location, and just try to be able to find a home, somewhere where you can at the same time you're trying to transition with yourself. So I was going to show that race, but I might just skip it because you summarized the whole thing in terms of that race. So
well, let me put a positive spin on that. Even though I broke my femur and my career stopped, like that moment, I think was like I started to grow up at that moment. Like I was just a child running around winning races, and like when I broke my leg, like I realized that I had to start preparing for like life after, which a lot of athletes don't even think about life after because we're immortal in our own eyes. We live forever. We're going to play basketball and football and do all these things forever. And when you look at these athletes who think they're going to play forever or don't prepare for the unknown, it's a super smack in the face. And so I'm glad that I got that smack in the face sooner than later, because I could still be trying to run right now, which I probably still be doing great on the track. I might not be winning, but I'd still be doing great. And I think that would be doing an injustice for me because I would never be prepared for what needs to happen afterwards. That's like when I did break my leg in 2013, I did not have my college degree. But while I was rehabbing and getting ready to come back to the 2016 Olympics, I went and got my college degree. So those are all testaments on how you got to still continue to be ready and prepared, regardless, even it looks like it's not going to even be possible. You still got to prepare. So I'm just grateful that happened sooner than later, and I was able to prepare. And now I got a second wave that I'm loving. Like that's what it's about. Like I said, life is seasons. Like my friend always says, you get that second wave. Like you see people who used to be famous and like they're coming back being famous than they were before. So don't ever give up. I mean, it's always there.
Amen to that. And this is one of my favorite saying, and I'll say that we all could make our best life ahead of us. I made a commitment that that my life has been blessed. Just to be able to run and travel and build a career and use my leg to go to the world and gain experience. But I say, you know what? My goal is to live even a better life. So now, even being a man, that's a tough challenging, but I'm pushing towards it, and we understand that life is a lot of different sides, so it's not just being on the track. So You know, we believe, and I'm going to say that you're living your best life and your best life ahead of you. You're going to win some other medals. It's just not going to be on, you know, you're going to be overcoming obstacles. You're
I
going to
like
win
that.
in medals. Yeah, you know, so
That's
just
what's
push
up.
for that. So let's talk about, I'm just going to close your career off before we move into, we want to know what you're doing right now. Tell
Right.
us about how difficult it was for you to retire and when exactly you retire. When was your last race? When did you? How did you come to grips that you know what, man? This is it. I'm just gonna have to you know, I'm gonna hang up the spikes, man.
Man, that was the hardest decision that I ever had to make. I think I went back and forth. I think when I came back and started competing, I got a new agent. And after I got a new agent, he got me into some meets. I got into a meet running against like Aries Merritt and over in China, and I ran and I clobbered the first hurdle. I came back from breaking my femur. I traveled 16 hours. I put in the work. I came, ran the hurdle race, clobbered the first hurdle, went straight down on my face. I think that right there for me, it just took everything out of me. It was just like, you don't have to prove anything to anyone else anymore. And I just was like, I just fell apart. I had this long speech on Facebook, which I think actually helped people, you know, just about staying determined. But I was just defeated. I was like, gosh, how many times am I going to get knocked down? Like, and the crazy thing is that same race, two or three, okay, there was only 6 people in the race. 3 or 4 other people in the race also either false started or hit a hurdle. And if I had just finished my race, I would have got second. So I was just so disappointed in what happened. And I was like, but you don't have to be disappointed because you're an Olympic silver medalist. You're a U.S. champion. You're in the University of Cincinnati Hall of Fame. You're an athlete of the decade. Like, you don't have nothing to worry about. Who are you trying to prove something to? And once I realized, like, okay, I'm going to go and start teaching other people what I know because I've proven everything to myself. So there's nothing really to prove to anyone else.
All right. Well, for I'm just gonna say congratulations on that track career. I'm gonna put you over to Ian, and then I want to get into. I don't know if Ian have any more track question, but we'll get into what you're doing right now.
Okay.
Really, David, I'm here listening, and we did not speak before this afternoon. This is my first time meeting you, but I just want to say I have been inspired myself, you know, on here, and just listening to your story, your journey, what you've been through, what you have to overcome. I just want to say to you, man, that you're a true champion. You know, you're a champion on that field in terms of the tracks, and you're champion off the field in terms of your story and how much it's able to motivate a youngster. And I think you're now about to walk into your greatest passion, and that is teaching it. And the reason why you will have so much success is because you yourself is a living testimony. You know, you can use your story to motivate any youngster out there. The person who thought they weren't born with the ability, you could tell them, hey man, I start my track career late. I blossomed very fast. I went to the Olympics. You know, even when the odds was against me, I was able to overcome. And when I showed up because I medal. You know, you just want to have an opportunity. And once there's an opportunity, then just take it with both hands, which I have seen that you have done that. And even in your defeat, when you thought you're defeated by injury, you still find it within you to overcome, which you have said not many athletes would have been able to overcome breaking a femur, stress fractures, all that, and to come back and run again and compete well. I just want to say to you, man, well done. You're a champion.
Thank you.
In every aspect.
That. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
All right, David. So we're going to move along, man. So one of the biggest thing that you know, we're going to talk about life after track in this last segment. Just want to figure out what direction life put you. I know that you want to inspire. I know that you want to coach, and I know you're mentoring kids towards their dream. Just share with us, what David Payne been doing in terms of coaching other athletes, or what's your passion in terms of coaching, and just let us know how your experience, how you want to able to share that with other young athletes.
Right. Yeah, so as soon as I got finished competing professionally, well, actually during right at the end of my career, I realized that I wanted to coach, and I actually volunteer coached for the University of Cincinnati for 2 years even before that, I coached at least 3 high schools as assistant coach because I wanted to get some training down to know a little bit more about coaching. Then I got the opportunity to volunteer coach at the University of Cincinnati for 2 years, where then after that, I was able to get a coaching job at the University of Xavier for 2 years, where I just recently no longer work there because of COVID issues, where they have basically let go of some of their coaching staff. But what I can say is that I love coaching. I love my athletes. I think especially coaching my Xavier athletes, that was such a great experience with the athletes. I mean, I didn't realize you would have, like, I worried about more like, am I going to write the workouts right? Like, is their recovery going to be right? Am I going to overwork somebody? Am I going to hurt somebody? Like, how do I deal with injuries? Those things were not the things that I struggled with or was shocked or surprised by. I was shocked and surprised more by the relationships that you get as a coach. You're not just a coach, you're a mentor, you're a teacher, you're a best friend, you're the brother or sister, uncle that they never had. They'll tell you their problems, they have no one else to talk to. I was shocked at how close I was getting in a role model perspective to all these students. I was gaining little kids all over the place. So it was like that they were becoming family. It just made the bond stronger and made me realize more what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. And so now that I don't coach for Xavier anymore, just recently now I still have a post-collegiate track group that I coach every morning at 7 a.m. Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. If you follow me on Facebook, then you probably see it. That's all I do in the mornings. And when this podcast is over with, I will be announcing my gym partnership with a gym that's big in Cincinnati. It's a national gym, but it's also here in Cincinnati, where we will be taking our training indoors, where we'll be able to use the facilities and gyms. But yeah, I'm constantly training, constantly have athletes. I train post-collegiate athletes, high school athletes, and collegiate athletes. I'm always there for someone trying to achieve a goal that they set for themselves. And outside of that, I will still love to coach collegiately. I mean, that might possibly still happen. But the fact of the matter is I will always coach. I have too much information in me not to help to give to someone else. So I just feel like that's my duty.
All right. So my other question that I want to move on, I want to move over to the Little Oak Park that was renamed to David Payne Park. And man, I'm reading there's a whole lot of legacy behind that park. I mean, from your grandparents, to just a whole lot of history.
Yeah.
Give us a little history about that park. Just from way back from what your grandparents they was pushing for.
So I'll go a little further than that. So
Okay.
I'll just take you a little bit back into my family, where I found out maybe a couple of years ago that I'm related to one of the first Black horse jockeys that ran, and after him, my grandmother, she's in the Bowling Hall of Fame. And then I am an Olympic medalist who's also solidified in history. So there is a lineage or heritage of you know, athletes or someone doing something at a high level in my family. So I definitely say that I get that from them. But I enjoy doing the things that I do when I can continue to do it and give that information to other people and how I do it. I might have ran a little bit off the question. You might want to refresh me on it again, but
Well, yeah, just wanted to ask you about the legacy with your grandparents. Because
yeah,
they,
that's right.
yeah,
And so with like all those athletes and people in my background, my grandparents kept they basically instilled in me integrity, like with everything that I did. I remember to this day. I mean, my grandma gave me talks and put me in check a lot. And you know, back then those were different times. You know, the whole community took care of the kids. The street lights came on, and the parents were looking down the street, and you can get in trouble by your next door neighbor because your mama didn't see it, but if they saw it, you still got in trouble. So that and then the community that we lived in Wyoming is such a close community that, you know, you help take care of the people that are around you. So not only did I get the park named in my behalf, the park is also on the behalf of my grandmother and my grandfather, who have a bench there in the memory of them, because they also were influential in getting that park across this, because the park is across the street from where I used to live as a child. So they were influential in getting that park there and keeping it clean and trying to get activities there and young kids there. And so we all were kind of honored at the same time. So it's more than just a park in my name. It's a park that is really dedicated to the whole legacy and family of me.
yeah. Excellent, excellent, excellent. So, yeah, over to you, Ian.
But really and truly, I just want to say it was just such a pleasure to sit here and listen to you as you speak, highly first of your mother, your heritage, your background, really, and then to inspire us with your journey and your journey of overcoming. I'll say that is it for you, your journey of overcoming. But right here at the end, you're working in your greatest passion, which is coaching. And I would say, I believe that is something that the Lord have called you for, and I think that's one of the reasons why He would have given you so many testimony or so many challenges to overcome. Because I don't think He would have able to dish it out to somebody else and they'll be able to handle it.
I agree.
I think He handpicked you for this mission, man. And as I would say, to Ian, your latter is gonna be greater, you know. And it was just a pleasure to have you here on Real Talk with Ian and Ian. Taking 3 hours of your time. That's a lot of time, to be
Hey,
here.
I appreciate it. And you know what? Me and Ian talked the other day, and I was like, look, he said this to me. He said, we're not going to be on there that long. I already knew in my mind, I already knew there was no way I could get out, or we talk about 3 seasons in less than 3 hours. There's just no way to go over all that stuff.
But man, I know a lot of people will be inspired by your story, and they definitely would have learned more about you tonight than even before, in terms of probably some of the struggle that you went through and coming back. As I said, you may not have gained a medal, but in yourself, you have basically gained a championship, just a championship of overcoming. And we're proud of you. We celebrate your journey and we continue to share as you continue to motivate and inspire other young men and women out there, man. Thank you very
much. Thank you. I appreciate that.
So, so my last question, or probably one or two. So, David, I want you to give a shout out to the 513 area code. Anybody in the 513 area code? Give me some shout. Yeah.
So, first of all, like, Cincinnati gets it done. I mean, y'all been watching the Bearcats? Have y'all been watching them? We rank like number 7 this year, right? I mean, we get the job done. I ain't gonna say too much about the Bengals right now, but we get the job done basically. 513, they've always been there for me. Cincinnati, Ohio is where I'm from. I just feel like we have a mentality. I've never met an athlete from here who was not a go-getter. All the young athletes that come up after me that want to know how to be great, they already great. It's just a matter of sticking with it. And I just think, you know, outside of a 5-on-3 mentality, it's an American mentality and it's an Olympic mentality. So that's it.
All right, guys. So just want to say, man, you know, I have the privilege of running alongside you, working alongside you for many years, and you know, we actually meet. You know, I saw you at the U.S. Championship a couple of years ago, and you know, was just happy to see you back in track and field, doing what you love. I know that God is going to call you to to another era in your life. So just as you know, just trust and believe the process, just as you've been doing all your life, man. I know that you're destined for greatness. You know, and I know your mom gave you a great job. I'm just happy that you're back in your hometown, and everybody that's in Cincinnati. We know that we're looking for you to inspire the next generation that's coming up. So just keep working and keep pushing. And I just want to wish you all the best, man, in your walk, your talk, and in everything that you do. Be safe and do all that, all the good stuff that you've been doing. Yeah, I'm just going to close off here with a little bit of fireworks from this David Clutch Payne. You know, one of the USA Track and Field alumni. You know, I know you're doing things, and you know, certified coach, and you know, just a man that will get it done. You just will figure out a way. So, so on behalf of this program here, we'll talk with Ian and Ian. It was honored to have David Payne. He's an Olympian. He's two-time World Championship medalist. He's a Cincinnati Bengals Bearcat. You know, all right, Wyoming All School. We haven't even talked about your Hall of Fame career. I mean, you know, it's you know, all of that good
That's
stuff.
the next
but,
show.
Yeah, so but we're gonna be following you, man. We're gonna follow you for forever. So you know, just we'll be in touch. We got each other numbers, so we'll be in touch. So I'm gonna pop this little firework on here, and then you know, you can you say any final words, or you get.
I'm good. Thanks everybody for listening. Hope I inspire somebody, and just stay motivated.
All right. All right, David Clutch Payne.
Let's go. See y'all later.
That was
Appreciate
good, man.
it. Thank y'all.
Peace out.